What's good? Welcome to another episode, Hope Academy. We got another fire class. We're gonna keep coming with that fire every week. We got a lot to talk about today, so I want to get right into it. The topic of today's discussion is called radical responsibility. Radical responsibility. So we're gonna continue off from last week's session, and we also gonna learn some new topics. So let's give a recap. So last week we talked about the entitlement trap. Excuse me. We talked about the entitlement trap. Now here's the deal. Most of us humans, all of us humans, are caught in the entitlement trap now in one form or many. So understand it. We are in the entitlement trap currently, right now, because we are in first world. We have first world problems compared to other places, other countries, other districts. Even if you look down the street from where you live, there's completely different environments to where we have a sense of entitlement. So I don't want to demonize the word entitlement, but entitlement can become a trap for you if you don't recognize that it is a trap. So it starts with appreciation, which means everything is cool at the beginning when it's new. Relationships, a gadget, a car, some money, some clothes, some new J's, being called an entrepreneur, quitting your job, a vacation. Every single thing, it starts with appreciation because it's new and you have clear eyes to process completely different things you've never seen before, and that you're in a world of wonder. So as soon as your brain starts recognizing patterns within that new thing, then it shifts to anticipation, because now you anticipate it to work. Once you get to anticipation, now it moves from anticipation to expectation. I expect this thing to work. So when I walk up on whatever car I'm driving and the doors don't push out anymore automatically when I walk by, I'm saying, what's wrong with this car? What's wrong with this car? Not, I don't want to use my key no more. You know what I'm saying? So you're expecting it to work. I don't want to pull my keys out my pocket no more. That's expectation. Knowing 15 years ago, we had a whole different experience in a whole different car. Once you breach past expectation and you still get consistent experience, now you're entitled to it. And this is the problem. This is the problem. Now, I was thinking all week of some examples. One of the examples comes from personal experience. You guys remember the story I used to tell a lot, that when I was rock bottom broke and my partner asked me, hey, I got a car for you. And I said, what kind? When I didn't have no car. Mm-hmm. You know where I was on that list? I was stuck in entitlement. I deserve a BMW, even though I ain't got shit right now. Even though I got these 2 feet and I'm walking everywhere I want to go. But I was so stuck on entitlement, I don't even want no car if it ain't the kind of car I drive. Mm-hmm. Stuck on entitlement. Stuck on entitlement. So the key here is the ability to move up and down the scale at will, at necessary, never be stuck. Meaning, if you have a business, job, relationship, situation, whatever, and you are on an uphill climb and you guys are doing well, say you making 6 figures, maybe well in the 6 figures, and you doing good, you can for sure get entitled in some shit. Maybe you got help. Maybe you got housekeepers and nannies and all kind of shit. Who knows? The issue, the skill set, doesn't lie in the entitlement. It lies in if there is some kind of economic crash or you have a dramatic life change and your income level dramatically reduces, can you have the ability to quickly shift back down to where you need to be? Can you sell some shit off? Can you be like, fuck this car, fuck this big ass house, fuck this, and go back to your budget and budgeting your money until you get yourself back into a plateau? That's where most of us die at. We'll hang around an entitlement and don't have the shit no more and try to ride it and be broke as fuck. That's why you see Mercedes-Benz bipping cars. Or people pull up and they in a brand new, clean, brand new car and they got an EBT card. And you be staring at them in line like, wait a minute, I drive a Mazda C3. They don't even make them no more because that's within my budget. But how you doing this is not the fact that they got the car. It's the adjustments, the speed in which the adjustments you have to make once your economic situation changes. That's what makes you agile, and that makes you powerful in business. See, when you stuck in entitlement, you do what I did. You wait until they come repo the shit. I'm just going to drive it and ride it until the wheels fall off or till somebody come take the wheel. Instead of quickly making adjustments. Economic levels change, you change. Your business model change, you change. COVID happens, you change. This happened, you change. The market takes a swing, you change. I don't care if shit was good and fly back then. No, you change. And that is it's easy to say. Easy to say, but it's hard to do. Very hard to do. Because our ego, we care what people think about us, how we looked, how we flossed on Instagram, how we showed everybody how shit was doing, how we flexed and all that shit. Because the ego took control of your situation versus you making the best logical move for yourself. Entitlement trap. So that was me taking the Rubik's Cube again and looking at it from a different perspective so you can see. Entitlement, the most damage can be done with entitlement is in the reaction of a situation. In a reaction. All right. It's how do you respond if the situation changes for you? How do you react? Next one, three of the four types of leadership. Leadership one is to me leadership. That's the blaming. Everything happens to me, which means you have to blame everybody else. It's their fault. They did it. So if you've worked for somebody like that, it was a horrible time for you because people were always getting blamed, and maybe you, and they never took responsibility. To me, leaders have a tough time taking responsibility. And that's where problems, it takes a long time for problems to get solved because they spend most of the time on problems, blaming others, and almost none on solution. Next one is by me leadership. By me leadership is probably the crux of this book. By me leadership is a crux of this book, is a foundation of this book. And it starts with taking radical responsibility for everything that happens around you. Second, you ask the question, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? Once you learn the lessons from situations, and it ain't no losses, period. Then you also realize there's no rights or wrongs, and you can forgive easy. You can forgive your past easy. Even horrible things that have happened to you. Because you look at your life and you look at where you are and you realize that some of that fire was necessary for you to become the person who you are today. Third type is through me leadership. Through me leadership. You start to realize that we're all connected. We're all connected. And now you start giving up control. Taking 100% responsibility, radical responsibility is in by me leadership. But through me leadership, you start giving up control. Microphone.
So, not trying to beat a dead horse, but
No.
I think that I have really been struggling with trying to not repeat and regurgitate, but own radical responsibility. I think in concept, I get it. I think I could probably orate to you my understanding. But then when I find myself in situations like I've been completely restructuring my business and just like tearing it apart and trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, making it flexible because there's triple people now. And I'll say majority of the time when it comes to my business, I have much more awareness in my business than my personal life for sure, because my life depends on it if I don't have awareness. And so even like if I wanted to say something, I will find myself trying to stay in the curious space and ask questions or get feedback from the staff or from the clients. And this last week, I think Jonathan was at the last class, and he's one of our clients at Pinpoint, and we were talking about radical responsibility, and I sneezed, and he was like, radical responsibility. And I was like, yeah, what was your takeaway from that? Because I don't really think that I understand, and it's just a constant thing that's being brought up, and I think I can understand the basics, but I just don't really know how it applies. I guess my humble takeaway is just trying to be more humble and trying to be more inquisitive, but I don't really know how it applies in everything.
Okay, thank you for asking the question. Radical responsibility. So let's start with the definition. Radical responsibility. It means to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens. Everything. And you can interchange the term responsibility with ownership, which means you own it. You own everything. And that means everything that happens to you. You own it. Now, the difference between, like we talked about, ownership and blame, it's a completely different energy. One is a reactive energy, one is a proactive energy. Right? So this is saying, if you take a blanket stance, meaning you take a blanket commitment to be the owner of your experience, in the game is to play full on. Don't try to dissect this to that. Just own everything. That's the game. Now, sometimes there are times where people will look for the exceptions. But what about this? What about that? What about this time? What about that time? It's the opposite of what people do when we say, You need to play the long game in this situation. And you need to look at the statistics and the odds. And so sometimes it's the same people. They'll say, well, what about this black swan who just made billions and billions of dollars and didn't do that? And what about this one over here? And we're like, that's exceptions to the rule. We're saying move with the rule, the logic of the rule, right? And the logic of the rule says that it's not a good idea from a probabilities perspective. Do not use black swans in your equations. So if you flip that on its head and we say, now take radical responsibility for everything, then that same brain, the brain that wants to run, because what that brain is doing is not wanting to take responsibility. It's exactly doing that. So it says, let me find the exceptions. Well, what about when I was raped? What about when I was a kid and I got dropped on my head? That wasn't my fault. Well, what about my daddy being a crackhead? That wasn't my fault. Let me find those things. Where the thing is, we're talking about solutions, right? And we're talking about how can we be the best leaders that we can be. And to be the best leaders that we can be, you have to put your foot in the sand. You have to put your line in the sand and take a stance. In those kind of stances, you can't have exceptions. You can't have exceptions. That's the same, taking radical responsibility, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. But the feeling in the way I feel radical responsibility is the same feeling that I feel when it's time to fight somebody. You can't start thinking about what they possibly could do to you and what the odds are. And if they bigger than me or taller than me or stronger than me or any of those things in that moment. You know why? Because that small doubt, you get fucked up. And maybe it's true. Maybe they is bigger than you. Maybe they taller than you. Maybe the odds is against you. But guess what? Your doubt is going to make that ass whooping worse. I guarantee it. And y'all know, y'all experienced it. Confidence can take you far when you have full belief in something. You're going to get 100% of me. That's what you is going to get, is 100% of me. And I'm not letting doubt creep in. So I'm a believe that I can win. And then at the aftermath, we can square up and see what really happened. And do you win all the time? No. But have you won most of the time? I venture to say yes. So your win-loss ratio, you don't start thinking, well, the probability of it. You put your feet, you put your stance out there, you put your line in the sand, and you have a belief. And then over time, you'll see the effectiveness of the belief. That's how beliefs work. It's hindsight results. So this taking radical responsibility is hard. It absolutely is hard. But the concept is this. I'm coming.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay.
I'm coming. The concept is this. You take that same analogy and you take it with radical responsibility. I'm going to put my line in the sand and I'm going to take responsibility for everything that happens. Everything. And guess what? Once you do it, you change because you look at the world. You look at the world different. You look at the world from a motherly perspective with mama bear energy. Now you're looking around at mama bear energy. So when you walk into a house with mama bear energy and you see a 6-month little kid crawling around and you see electrical things out on the side of the wall, what do? Even if it's not your house, You're going to feel some type of way, right? Hey, you should get some plugs for that. I got some at the house. Hold on. Or you watching a baby, or you doing certain things, because once you take ownership of a situation, things change. If you ever babysat as a kid, and when the parents are there, everything seems different. As soon as the parents leave, certain things start popping up. Dangers, red zones, things that could be potentially dangerous start floating in the air, because now it's your responsibility. So radical responsibility is the same energy. As a business owner, the customer's experience from the time they get close to your building to the time that they leave is your responsibility. Fucking sneezing, everything. And when it does happen, and let me take notes. Let me figure that out. I own it. You know what? I'm sorry you're having that experience. Let me take notes. Let me figure it out, and let's make it right for you. And now it's going to open up. It's going to open up so much more for you and your business, because now you're looking at situations that you used to say, well, that's not my fault. Now you bring it into your experience, and now it just helps you make more money. And I'll give you another experience in a minute.
I'm gonna turn me up a little bit. Test 1 to 3. Am I enough? Am I good online? Okay. I recently picked up again the autobiography of Martin Luther King, and I wanted to read it with my systems brain and my complexity brain. And he made a comment. He said, it's really simple. He said, segregation creates a false sense of superiority for white people and a false sense of inferiority for black people. And most black people still in America are segregated, which is really crazy. We don't pay attention to it because we're numb. The effects are happening, but we're numb to the effects. That comment, 15 commitments of conscious leadership. The reason radical responsibility is the beginning of this conversation. How many of you guys believe in roles? Anybody in this room believe in roles? Playing roles? Yeah. So you play a role in your business, right? Court? Play a role in your household? You play a role in your community. Everywhere you go as an adult, you have a role to fill, right? When you're filling a role, the reason I think some of us don't feel radical responsibility feels kind of uncomfortable, because many of us know it, but we don't really take on our roles. Many of us don't really take on our roles. We're still debating, should I be a woman? Should I be a man? Should I be this? Should I be that? Should I be a parent? Why can't I be the friend? We don't own our roles. So if you don't own roles, radical responsibility sounds like foreign language, like I'm speaking Spanish to you. For me, because I don't speak Spanish. Everybody else might speak Spanish in this room. I just told myself. So radical responsibility, and I want to tap into something, I want to add to what he's saying. Part of feeling like a leader is taking on the role of a leader. You won't feel it unless you take on that role. And when the way you take on that role, you say, anything that happens in my domain, that's my responsibility. And it makes you stand differently. It makes you look different, makes you think differently. You start to use different language. You start to have different rhythms. You care about different things. You prioritize different things. Your whole way it's a different consciousness. Radical responsibility is not taking the consciousness you have now and trying to own radical responsibility. It's understanding that I want to grow in my roles in life. That's what you're doing. I want to grow in my role as a leader in life. You could be in a community and have a role and not be a leader. Real easy. You could be a servitude role, right? But if you want to go into a leadership role, there's some white man who's paying attention to the politics of the United States. And he don't give a shit if you care about democracy and capitalism and meritocracy at all. He or she is still overseeing access to certain freedom and choices that you have in this country. And as well as restricting and protecting and all these other things. Somebody owns that while you at home going to the club tonight. Somebody's saying about the water that's going to come to your house. Those individuals, when they walk amongst us, they speak differently, they move differently, they gain different benefits. They have access to different resources because other people who understand resources see them. oh yeah, you're one of those people. The rest of you who are avoiding radical responsibility, you're in a different crowd, a different conversation. When I'm amongst movers and shakers, they all talk like that. It's just not even, they don't say radical responsibility. That's how they move. Because they take it on the role that this is my responsibility. When I listen to Martin Luther King, he had radical responsibility to our community. Everything that happened, when he met Malcolm X, he totally disagreed with him. He's like, but I don't really want to talk about Malcolm X. I want to talk about the failure of Christianity that makes Malcolm X relevant. If Christians had been performing at a certain level, then Malcolm X wouldn't even be relevant. But Christianity has failed the black man, the black woman, to the point that Islam is filling those gaps where we have failed. That's radical responsibility. If he didn't have radical responsibility, he'd be like, yeah, the Muslims and this and they. There's no theys. If something's happening, he's coming back to what happened in my domain that let that happen. So when you sneeze, the reason I was critical is because in my domain, I'm thinking, is it her or is it the air? Also, does she have a disease that I need to be concerned about? I need to watch her rhythm and behavior. What if you go over there and grab a sandwich and you start touching, like there's chips open, you start putting your hands on it, right? So now I got to tell, as a leader of this space, saying, hey, Tennille, when you bring chips in here, make sure no one can touch it, because if somebody comes in here and sneeze and they pass a disease to my whole team, everybody who gets sick, that's on me. I accept that. I don't say to myself, well, she shouldn't have, and the chips, and she knew better than that, and if I was her, and I got to take care of myself. That's such a slave language. You get nothing from overcommit. Matter of fact, I tell you what you do get from overcommitting to yourself. You create insanity. You create mental damage. Okay, we got somebody on the other side. I'm just gonna let y'all. I'm gonna let that one go because he clouded. But what is this? So, but the key thing is that leadership doesn't come because you're the fastest runner, the hardest worker, the smartest person in the room. Leadership comes from the level of responsibility you're willing to take. And that's why this shit is so cold. It's the entry level that if you can't get this first commitment, then you're playing leadership. You like leadership for status purpose. You don't want at the club call yourself a boss, knowing goddamn well you ain't bossing nothing. But yet, real leadership is ownership. Meaning that if anything happened, if I was over Oakland, everything that happens in Oakland is on me. That's why this new mayor sounds like trash. Oh, they. Oh my gosh, he sounds like trash. Just take radical responsibility, and then at that point, earn my trust, and then take me along the journey. But when you start pointing fingers, even if you're right, I don't see you as the leader of the city. You're just one of the pawns in the city complaining about the rest of the shit. So once you decide you want to be a leader of something, realize it's a commitment to the role of food. I mean, once you commit to the whole idea of radical responsibility or leadership, you're buying into this role that everything that happens, that's a role. The key word is a role. It's a voluntary role. You don't have to take this role. But once you volunteer for that role, understand it's going to have some pluses and minuses. All roles do. If I give you a diamond ring, it has some pluses and minuses. Because if I give it to you, it's going to be some minuses. But the point is this. The reality is that, you understand me? But the point is this. But the point I'm saying is that, see, Fern is in the room. Fern is social contagion. You understand me? But the point I'm saying is, let's go back to that focus, because she has that power. That's not radical responsibility, by the way. So, but the reality of what I'm saying is that when I move like that, I see the power I get from that. It's not a humbling experience. It's an empowerment experience.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you don't take radical responsibility, you're saying you have a boss. You have somebody over you.
That's pretty much what you're saying. Yep.
You're saying I have somebody over me because I get to defer to someone else because somebody else can take over and do a job better than me or do this job. Radical responsibility says I'm the term the buck stops here. You're the buck. You're the buck. So if not you, who? Who do I go to at Pinpoint now when I have an issue? You. Well, I'm sneezing. I don't feel good. Well, let's address that. Who do I talk to at Pinpoint? You. So you got to get used to being that. There ain't nobody to run to, ain't nowhere to go. It's you. And I love that. Once you decide to take on that role, meaning you putting on this coat, it comes with some stuff. It's like walking around with a red rag on. It's going to come with some stuff. It comes with power, it comes with influence, it comes with resources, but it also comes with the other stuff too. And that's what you signing up for. That's what we all signing up for.
I have a question. What is how do you distinguish this from other ways of thinking that are more internally focused, like mindfulness and awareness?
How does this differentiate from mindfulness and awareness?
Yeah.
I don't think they're connected.
Yeah.
So can you say more about that, them not being connected?
I mean, how did you connect? Could you say how did you connect them?
What I'm hearing you say when you mention roles and you mention how we show up and what is our responsibility, that all feels like to the environment. And what I think of mindfulness and when I think of awareness, that feels very myself and my own perspective and what's going on with me and my own developing, updating my own data.
Kill the word own, I think you get closer. There ain't no own nothing. There's a point, that's one of my reasons I fucking hate all this new rhythm that it's almost like we got the servitude culture is more dominant than the leadership culture. Mm-hmm. When I'm serving you, I'm often giving up a lot of what I want, my own. There's no own. Mm-hmm. I'm signing up. It's like if you went to the military right now and you're the captain of all these people, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. You don't get to say, today I'm just not feeling like I didn't want to tell y'all anything. What? Mm-hmm. Right? Or let me show you another side. Let's say you got 1,000 employees, mm-hmm. and let's say Pinpoint got 10 gyms, mm-hmm. and one of our employees decided to inappropriate, touch a woman, mm-hmm. Just do some inappropriate stuff. And a lawsuit comes back. She may fire him, but she got to pay that. Mm-hmm. She don't get to say, well, I wasn't him. I would have never did that. I get that. Mm-hmm. But you're going to have to pay that because you run Pinpoint. So at the end of the day, she's taking radical responsibility. Even though she wasn't even in a room, she's not even a dude. She don't even find the woman attractive. It ain't got nothing to do with her. Mm-hmm. There was no pre-conversation. But when that lawsuit comes through, they don't stop at dude. They keep Pinpoint, cash it out. Mm-hmm. See, radical responsibility is a thing where there's certain things that's bigger than us. We get talking about us too fucking much. Fuck you. It's above us, not you, because you're my sister. I would never use that language. But I'm saying it's not about you. It's about fuck the you and fuck the you and move on to a higher standing that when you're serving something, you got to go beyond yourself, which rises you up to a greater version of yourself. As long as we continue to reference ourselves, we'll never rise up because we get in the way of ourselves all the fuck between our ego and our sensitivity and our biases and it's like they even says in mental health, the fastest way to fix your mental health is focus on other people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So mindfulness is too much about, I don't give a fuck about you. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, once you take on that role, there's tools you need. I'm not totally discarding. I'm saying those are tools you use. It's almost like I don't talk about salad as all nutrition, but it's important that you have different vegetables and all kind of stuff to balance yourself out, right? To sleep and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But I promise you, it pushes you past all of your personal stories, limitations, and traumas when you're serving others. It's just a high radical responsibility says, don't really care about your trauma. Don't really care about this. Don't really care about that either. When that lawsuit comes through, she can fire the dude. She can try to recover some money through the guy, which I doubt is going to ever happen. But at the end of the day, she's going to have to pay that $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, $3 million. And she don't get to say, well, it wasn't my fault. But the lower you get, we have that finger pointing. The higher you get, the more you take on the responsibility. When PG&E, look at PG&E radical responsibility. When those fires was happening in all kind of places, because some shit, if their line happened to be, I think your line might have something to do with it. PG&E got to cash out. So that's why PG&E was like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. That was my ownership. So on these days, we cutting power because shit, I can't afford that cost. But when you don't have radical responsibility, then you'll be like, he should have parked his truck. He should have bumped into this. No, don't matter. That's your responsibility.
Yep. And we're going to go more into radical responsibility in a few slides down. So, good. But awareness and mindfulness are tools you use to be the best version of yourself so you can serve and play that role.
There you go. 100%.
That's what it's for. So, because again, when you put the code on, you don't have an option. Every 2 weeks or whatever your payroll, however your payroll is set up, those checks got to clear.
Nobody cares.
And nobody cares about nothing else. Them checks got to clear. So, and we're gonna go deeper. So let's move on. The fourth, next slide. The fourth, as me leadership. As me leadership.
Clues. There is no separation. It's not divided.
Okay, so as me leadership says, there is no separation between any of us. We're not divided. It's not a you versus me. So this is another way that people lead. That there is no separation. It's not the white man and me and this. We're not divided. Everything is used and interchanged, and we're all connected. Go ahead.
We are all energy. Energy is all there is. Absence of a personal me. There is no center.
Stop. Which means when you get out your way and pull yourself out of the center of the world, the center of the universe, like this whole world revolves around me, then you realize that you are a tool. You are a tool to help advance the consciousness, advance this world in some way, add value to this world in some way. You're a tool. Go ahead.
There are no questions, no seeking. Experiencing life just happens.
Okay, so the words curiosity are strong in this one. I wonder that just happened. Okay, well, what's the solution? Oh, okay. Well, I got people who talk about how they got enemies and adversaries and all these people. This group, they look at the world different. Not my adversary, you're not my enemy. Because at the end of this dance, you're going to make me better. At the end of this dance, whatever we're going to do, you're going to make me better. You're going to heighten my senses. You're going to make me fine-tune my systems and processes. You're going to help me heal. You're going to make me stronger. You're going to give me more tools. So even if you're the strongest enemy I've ever encountered, at the end of the day, I thank you for it.
Jeez. What is wrong?
You see what I'm saying?
Heidi was really good.
So there is no separation through this style of leadership. Now, it seems really woo-woo, but in actuality, it's not at all. You look at people like Richard Branson, like certain people move with that kind of mindset, and it's hard to fluster this group. It's hard to frustrate this group. It's hard to throw a problem at this group and they can't just look at it from a perspective and they don't get in their feelings about it. Huh, interesting. They might welcome it and have dinner with it. To be a world leader, you have to have some of this. That's why you'll find pictures with the Bush family and Osama bin Laden's family all the time, having dinner together and stuff like that, because you're always meeting with different people who have opposite views. You know who the Dalai Lama's best friend is? Dalai Lama's best friend is Desmond Tutu. Mm-hmm. They're best friends. any open moment they get to kick it, they kicking it with each other, and they laughing like two little kids. With completely opposite views, and they look for the places where there is no separation. So, as me leadership. Now, the last by me, through me, and as me leadership, there's not one better than the other. These are the three types, the three types of leaderships that people interchange. Well, actually, all four, because the top one, there's plenty of people who move with that type of leadership. But you see how they interchange, you see how they mix, and you can also assess yourself and see where you want to be. Where you don't want to be is to me. Where you don't want to be is to me. Any questions about those types of leaderships before we move on?
So, is this on? Yes. So, Nana, in the example you gave of Shakina's gym and a lawsuit, let's say it happened just as you said. She pays that lawsuit out. She has another male employee, and she sees them one day hug another customer, or they seem friendly, and then she's hyper vigilant. Don't talk to her, don't touch her, don't hug her, even if it's something that is innocent. Do you ever think that radical responsibility can make you go too far to the other end and turn into radical control, where you lose the ability to think strategically because you're so busy taking ownership?
Now you're integrating second order thinking. Second order thinking says you can get lost in that, so you know you don't have the power to predict the future. So for me to cut her off like that, matter of fact, if this as me, to me, by me, if you have a little bit of this as me in me, you realize you can't control any people like that. You got to create systems that improve the outcome, and you got to assume the losses as I move forward. You don't move through life under the perception of perfection. You assume those losses are coming. You don't know who's going to do it. Somebody's going to do it. You assume somebody's going to steal from you. You assume that somebody's going to break shit. You assume that somebody's going to wreck vehicles. All that's automatically built into your assumption, and that's part of business because you're taking, remember this, never forget this phrase, you take imperfection to create perfection. And I mean, every level, you're taking imperfection to create perfection. Not trying to make things perfect for a perfect outcome. You're taking imperfection to create perfection. And in that idea of imperfection and perfection, that's already assumed in the process.
Yeah. Remember the analogy we talked about when we came back from Seattle, where they took the tops off the hot sauce? Mm-hmm. That's that version. Like, you don't want to be the one taking tops off the hot sauce. Because you're reactive. You're reactive.
Bruh.
You're reactive. You now you're reacting, knee-jerk reacting to a situation versus sitting down thinking. And this book really digs deep into how to think alternatively and find ways that's a win-win. So the first question can be, what system can we set up that's a win for us and a win for everybody else? It's win-win thinking. So, and that opens up different possibilities. So instead of taking the tops off the hot sauce, because that's an easy fix. They ain't gonna take this hot sauce because it's gonna fall on the person, spill out. They ain't gonna. But you just fucked up the experience for the customers, and you distorted their perception and their value of you as a company. Versus, look, they're gonna steal this hot sauce. They're gonna steal it. So what we gonna do is slap our logo on these hot sauce. Put the phone number, website where they can order more, because they're going to use it, and it's going to be the best hot sauce they got in their cabinets. And when they run out, they either going to come back to our restaurant or go buy some more. If not, it's advertising for us, because every time they open their cabinets, they looking at our name. Now, it takes creativity to come up with those solutions. So that you got to understand, too, what you're running is one thought experiment. Because optionality thinking says this could possibly happen, but 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 other scenarios could happen too. Next slide.
A belief is impotent without behaviors that support the execution of the belief. Fear is the number one clog in the rhythm of turning beliefs into actions.
Okay. So what this slide is saying is that people say that they believe certain things. Yes, belief is important. To believe something is important, but it's sitting impotent, it's dormant, without behaviors that support the execution of it. So if you say you believe in God, but you out there acting a fool, your belief is impotent. Your belief is impotent. So how does this apply to entrepreneurship? So when it comes to radical responsibility, there's people like, there's more respect in seeing somebody do something while they're shaking physically, visibly, than somebody to not do it at all. Because they're trying to turn their belief into action. And sometimes that's tough. That's hard. But once you drive yourself into making your belief action, then now you firmly root your belief. But other than that, it's impotent. It's like knowledge. Knowledge is not power, it's potential power. The application and the execution and the action taking from that knowledge is where the actual power lies. So, what's the number one clog in the system, in the rhythm? Fear. 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 So people talk about faith. So let's go back to spirituality. Talk about faith, right? You ever heard the term your faith getting tested? Why is it a test? Can somebody answer? Why faith getting tested? Why is it a test in those moments?
Because it challenges your framework of belief at that moment.
Right. You believe something, your eyes are showing that the opposite is occurring, and it's testing that faith. It's testing that faith. So how long are you going to endure holding that belief until you break? Right? That's why it's called testing the faith. And all it translates to is we have belief and we have fear. And sometimes we refuse to take action. Same shit that we teach in this class. Some of us got all this knowledge and we ain't tried hardly none of it. Because we have the knowledge. We believed it. We snapped to it. We agreed. We said church. We said facts. We said all the shit. But we sitting on it because we're afraid to try it. So what we got to do is, and we're going to talk more about it, and somebody sent an email that really is we're going to dig deep into that, which applies to this. And that is, how do you create the motion to turn your beliefs into the execution of beliefs where they're firm? It's wisdom. Next slide.
While you go to the next slide, this is actually, this is why some of you can't take radical responsibility. That last slide.
Exactly. That was a setup. That was the setup. So if you go back to the last slide, this is probably number one reason why it's tough for people to take radical responsibility. Because our need to be certain, which translates to our need to be right, supersedes our need to be successful in those moments, because our need to be right is baked into our governing beliefs deep down. Yep. To how we value ourselves, who we think we are. And if we wrong, we think it chips away at who we are. And radical responsibility, when you take radical responsibility, let's go to the next slide. Here's a deal about radical responsibility. There are times that you gotta be wrong. And you didn't even do shit. There's times you gotta be wrong and you were right. There's times you gotta be wrong and you succeeded, but you have to take that hit on being wrong. Radical responsibility says, I own it, the buck stops here, it's on me. I have to do this shit all the time. All the time. I can draw a picture to my factory. I'll put lines at every fucking piece of fabric and say, do this, do this, do this, do that, do that, do this. I can call them after I email it to them and get on a fucking Skype call and say, hey, let's go through this because I want to make sure you get this right. No problem, no problem. And we go through each line. You got that? Yep, I got it. Oh, no problem, no problem. You got this? Yep, we'll knock it out the park for you. We got it. And we'll spend an hour on the phone breaking down each piece for them of what to do. Do you want me to fly out there to fucking Pakistan with you or China or wherever you are and sit? No. We got it. We good. Cool. Customer, got you, customer. Motherfucker, things come back sometimes and it's like, what were y'all thinking? Who did this? I said right there. Got him. Guess what? I got to call the customer and say, hey, it's our bad. Courtsmith's bad. We gonna make sure we make it right. Whether we get refunded or not for it, or whether we got to pay for it again, or whether we whatever, it don't matter because the customer don't care. I know. The customer don't care. That's radical responsibility. And guess what? I don't sit back and say, hey, we did everything we thought we needed to do with the factory. That's just on them. We sit back and think, what else can we do next time to give them, to make it even easier for them to get it right? Do I fuck it? What do I got to do? I'll do it because we own it. Okay, let's go find websites that have garments similar to ours and have a picture reference. How about that? Next to every line, we'll put a picture of product. Like, we'll just keep thinking of new shit. Because that's radical responsibility. I saw the volcano erupting.
It was like
But I love her for it. I love her
Right,
for
because
it.
I'm like, at some point, if I have to manage you to that minuscule level, then I might as well do it. Like, especially in your case, I'm paying a supplier, right? And I'm paying you to do a job. We talked about it. I gave you the mock-up. We had a phone call. We were on Skype. I said, do you want me to come out there? No, I got it. We do a check-in call. You send me a template, and then it shows up here and it's wrong. I don't know what else you want me to do. Absent of coming and holding your hand to do it, and then I could just do it myself. So then this is like my question about where does it become control? Because if I have to hold every hand for every step, then I'm running. I'm a technician, or might as well be, right?
No. Well, here's the first question. No, you can't do it yourself. And even if you could do it yourself, is your resources as a leader best used for you doing that? No, because as a leader, your time per hour is way more than it costs to manufacture a garment. So no, you do have to send it to a factory. You don't want to do it yourself because now time, attention, money, you just flip that around and now you losing. You got to charge $1,000 for that damn shirt or whatever it is for it to be equivalent of what your value is as a leader. So first answer is no. Second thing is, across the board of manufacturers, what is the downside of excellence? So if you can come up with a system that's excellent, that can ensure that whatever factory you send it to, whether it's a shitty factory or a great factory, you're going to get the same quality and product because your stuff is so detailed. What's the value in that? Which means you could leave or you can go on vacation and now your system is set up to where you can sleep good at night, knowing that you have the details in your tech pack are so high level that you found all the rooms for error that could happen with factories over time with experience and fuck ups and all those things, that you've mitigated all those. That factory is actually your teacher. That factory is actually going to help you make more money in the future. Mm-hmm. I guarantee it. I'm putting Jordan on the spot. Give Jordan the mic. Talk about Torch. Talk about Torch. What happened?
Torch was probably one of the most detail-oriented customers that I personally dealt with, from like the inseam, outseam, measurements of the shorts. She gave her experience of being a fit model for Nike, so it was kind of hard on the team. But at the end of the day, we elevated as a team because we understood what type of or what level of detail we need to fit that specific type of customer. So she prepared us to deal with 10 times, her level. So, yeah.
What did I ask her?
In as far as what?
To do what with our company?
Oh, yeah, maybe we need to have you come in and be a fit model and get your expertise.
I pulled her in. Hey, I want you to come spend the day with us. Come spend a day with us and help in our next sizing. I want you to be in the room, and she's gonna do it. Like, those people are your biggest teachers. You think, and they're paying you. So they're paying you to level you up. But that's only if you have radical responsibility. They got on the phone and they were so nervous to talk to me. They were like, I don't want you to think that we're taking advantage of you or anything, but we just found some errors. And she pulls out this spreadsheet, the most detailed spreadsheet I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is amazing. And they were like, oh, okay, good. I was like, this is incredible. Ain't nobody ever broke it. They measured every ounce of everything. So at the end, I'm like, do you want to come in on our next sizing when we do these type of uniform and just be in the room with us? And she's like, I'd love to. Mm. If I would have been hella defensive, what I've been doing this for 9 years, all that defensive shit, energy would have been completely different. Fucked off a customer and fucked up off an opportunity to get better.
Or even at this, you can be defensive without being defensive. So when she says, she's like, okay, cool. No, we'll take care. We just take care of it. No, it's all right. I'm okay. It's subtle things. Or you don't speak to their feelings. You go, no, we're on top of it. I'll call you back in a minute. And you never say sorry. That's the defensive.
Yep.
Defensive, remember I said you learn for empathy, not power? If you learn from a space of empathy and that happens, you're like, damn, if I was in her shoes, fuck, how would I feel? So you're gonna take time to give extra focus on your feelings and compensate or whatever you have to do, right? But if you're defensive, it's not that you don't know how to do that, you're gonna forget to do that.
Oh man, absolutely. Grab the mic. Grab the mic.
Nice.
That example where like what you're explaining here is like when you gave explicit information to a manufacturer who's making something for you, maybe you're under contract, you did, like you said, all those steps to make sure that product development was trending, and then when you received the finished product from them, they didn't meet whatever the agreement was.
Yes. So I was speaking to your context, right? The context was saying, I did everything I needed to do and you still failed me. Damn. I was speaking to that context, right? The context is I did everything that I thought I needed to do for it to be successful and it still failed. That's the context. The content was that specific example. So I'm saying remove that energy. Like remove it completely. It'll never be. You'll always have room to grow. There'll always be failures. There'll always be things that you did your best. Best ain't fucking good enough. It ain't. Best ain't good enough.
It really ain't.
And best is relative because it's your best. It's your best. So your best, you might need to go up 4 or 5 notches just to meet average. But if you're stuck in your best, then you think it goes back to the to-me leadership. You think the world revolves around, well, not you, but I'm saying we'll think the world revolves around us in to-me leadership, and my best is the pinnacle. That's the top. So if my best ain't good enough, it ain't good enough for nobody. Versus realizing that my best on the scale might be a 2. So if I'm always thinking I have to improve, I have to get better, there's more. What can I do to get better? What can I and I can't. The thing is, I think I'm at my best. You know who helps you expand your best? People like that. They bump up against your best. And if you greet them with open arms, then you level up. If you defensive and brushing them off, you stay the same.
Can I just say, okay, so let me just put myself in those shoes. Not even in industry. So I send it to the manufacturer. It comes back wrong. First of all, first thing I'm gonna think of is if I continue to switch manufacturers, that's a cost to go along with that. And I can't afford that. So I gotta get this right. 2, I'm gonna call other people that's in the industry, because that's why it's important to build relationships. Hey, when you call manufacturers, you have a second, can I even pay you to look at how I'm going through the process? I'm gonna automatically assume it might be me. Because I'm gonna start with me. I'm not, all right, they made a mistake, because I also understand that when I send something to this person, it's not this one person who's always been perfect gonna make my product. It's this person who has employees, who has layers of management, who has layers of communication systems, who have people who are running under pressure, all kind of shit can happen. 3, I'm probably not the biggest customer. I'm gonna just be straight up honest. I'm not really the biggest customer. So if something's gonna happen, I'm probably gonna catch it first, right? That's the cost of doing business and growing. As I get larger and larger and larger, I can reinforce and reassure and all kind of different things. But at the smaller level, I'm gonna have to build my business model to compensate for the fragility of the size that I'm at, right? In contact with that person, because I don't think I'm great. I'm not always gonna assume that there's no such thing as great, because the process is relative to where the industry is, what's the trends right now, what's the new equipment they have, what's the new relationships, what's the politics, what's the shipping, all that shit is part of the equation. And those things are just always moving, all those variables are moving. So there's no room for great or weak or poor. It's, do I understand the system I'm showing up to? Am I maximizing my opportunities? Also, how much slack do I need to build into my system because of my size? All that's part of my conversation, and I'm looking at this is a very complex business decision I have to make. But there is no, if I point fingers, I stop being strategical. Now, so if me and you had to go back and forth and build a character who's the opposite of radical responsibility, like if you're a manager, you're opposite, that means you're into fairness, you're into blaming, you're into small petty issues. You care too much about things that don't matter. You're not aware of bigger issues in society. You think you're in scarcity mode, so the only thing that matters is your next step. There's so many things that are anti-radical responsibility. If you embrace these other things, you can't be radical responsible, because you can believe in it, but you can't execute it because all these little small things get in the way. So when he says, I can't even think like that, is because once you start getting into those kind of things, then you start satisficing the problem, because you start saying, well, it got to be this one thing. And then you're able to go home and go to sleep. Well, with me, it's like, there's just too many variables here. Optionality, it's just too many possible variables. And I'm probably off somewhere. my formula is off somewhere, and my business model is too rigid, and so I need to build some flexibility in these two spaces, so I can have some room to move for the imperfection that exists. And there's a certain amount of imperfection built into my industry.
On that note, next slide. Bang.
That's funny.
Blame is a powerful motivator. Blame, shame, and guilt all come from toxic fear.
Come on now.
So,
Take your time.
if I'm in the corporate world, how I move up in the corporate world, this is my biggest tool. This is my biggest tool. Because blame, shame, and guilt are the purveying force and energy that run through corporate offices. So if I come in and all I do is talk shit about what's not working, this person, that person, this thing is not, this process isn't working, these people got to get, I rally the troops around me based on blame, guess what? I start getting promoted. Because maybe you have the answer then. And that's how, to me, leaders rise to the top in corporate America. See that? You see how that math works? The formula for corporate America, the rise up in the corporate world, is use this as a tool. The formula for social justice, use this tool.
Come on, tell the truth now.
This is a social justice formula. And they'll get you'll get the money, the funding, the rallying, all those things. But then they say, okay, cool, you got the money now, you got our attention, let's talk solution. Wait, time out. I'm to me. I'm a to me leader. I'm a to me leader. Y'all don't hire me for that solution shit because I came in as a to me leader. You get how cold this shit is? You can play on people's guilt, shame, blame, as well as imposter syndrome within a corporate environment, within government, within any place. Because imposter syndrome is so strong, because it's a mixture of these cocktails. If somebody comes in and says, I see you don't know the answers because here's the bigger problems and you don't got it, people will be like, oh shit, they found me out. I know what I'll do. I hire them. You want a job? Now realizing you don't know shit either. And that's how we get that toxic situation. That's how we get to me leaders in high places, and that's how we get massive amount of funding going to this group. People just write a check because I will play on your guilt. All I gotta do is call you out. You racist. If you spew out racism, I just call you out. Oh, okay. I see that. I see you. Next thing you know, they're writing a check to the organization. I'm coming here. I'm coming there. So understand that this is one of the most powerful tools that we use in society today. Blame. Shame. Guilt. Cold. Religion. Blame, shame, guilt. It is true, it's cold. When's the last time you heard the term shame on you? Somebody told me, I'm like, well, what the fuck that's gonna do to me? What is it gonna do to me?
That's a spell.
What is it gonna do to me? I don't give a fuck. But if you caught in that web, then it's like a weight, a blanket on you that can hold you down. This is also, when we talked about last week, blaming ourselves is just as bad as blaming others. And that's also what's preventing us from growing, expanding, making moves, making decisions, going forward.
Isn't it crazy? Like if you see somebody you see a real powerful leader coming to the attack, first of all, they don't even respond. It was just funny. They don't even feel it. But number two, when you take a radical responsibility and somebody does it, blame, shame, or whatever, you see their weaknesses. Mm-hmm. That's the goal. You see how the power comes? Once you start to see, oh, they're scared right now. What have I done to make them so scared? Mm-hmm. But if you're not in a leadership role, it's almost like a slap in the face. It's an equal response. So as you rise up, you start to see the human animal speak towards uncertainty, fear, love, all these different animal. You start to see the animal instinct like showing its face, and you're able to see it and then design for it. But if you're on the same level, you won't be able to see it. You just see the blame, the shame, the guilt.
Mm-hmm. Next slide.
There are no absolutes. Don't use this as an excuse to not take action.
We talked about this. Next slide. We got that, right? There are no absolutes. Real quick on it. We live in a world of black swans. Like, our world is built around black swans. So understand that. So the movers and shakers do not use as black swans as excuses to not take action. The ones who build shit don't use them as excuses to not take action. So now, content over context. This has been hammered away a lot by Nana. Nana's talked about this a lot. Content over context. As a leader, you have to master understanding content over context. I'll run through it quickly. Context are the details of what people say. Content is what they really mean. You understand the difference? If I say, it's cool, I'm coming back with a strap. But if I just use the word, it's cool, then that's different. But I say, it's cool, all right, it's cool. That's content over context. Oh no, it's good, I ain't tripping. Like, we know the language of content over content. We know that language. But somehow, sometimes, especially in business, we'll get blinded. Well, the customer said, well, what did the customer mean? Has the customer been back? No. Then the customer meant fuck y'all. Context, I'm sorry. Yeah. Context, not content. Content is what's in it. The details, the word. Context is the meaning.
Yeah, the meaning, yeah.
Sorry to confuse y'all. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Shut up,
No, you didn't, Josh.
Yes, Lord. Just try to run Josh out of
So
here.
context is what did they mean? What did they mean? Not what they said. You guys notice that there's a lot of jokes and memes out there in the world about, like, when wives say stuff to their man or girlfriends say stuff to their man. What they say and what they actually mean. And we supposed to know this hidden code of what y'all mean by the shit y'all say. We supposed to know it. And if we don't know it, we get roasted for it. I not know what I mean.
With that statement, didn't you?
If I say, hey, are you good? Hey, you good? I'm fine. I'm fine means I'm hella mad. Right? Content over context. So you got to learn that same language with your customers. You got to know that same language with your employees. Because if you sit down and have a one-on-one with your employee and they say everything is fine, everything is great, everything is dandy, they're excited to work here, be a part of whatever, and then a week later they give you a 2 weeks notice, you have a problem understanding content over context.
You know, today we went to do some observations. So we were doing some major branding for major hospitals, and we went to the hospital, and they took us to this walkthrough on all the floors, right? And when it was over, I was like, that was trash. I looked at me like, well, I was like, it's trash. He said, what do you mean? I said, I have no context. Like, everybody looks normal. I don't know what happens over, like, as the day goes on and goes through his dips, or on Friday night versus Friday morning, or when she goes in and talks one-on-one with a patient and she's exhausted. I don't know what the hell this means. Right now, if you just, and that, why is that important? If somebody presents something to you and you get excited, you have no context. You're just projecting. Mm-hmm. And so once you realize how much you project, which is first principle thinking, how many assumptions you place into the conversation, anytime you first see something and you pass a judgment, that's you taking content and assuming. Matter of fact, LGBTQ plus, black, white, Latino, Asian, if you say that and then anything that follows that, that's content. There's no context there. Because once you meet somebody and you see where they came from, where they're going to, it may change everything you just saw. So what you'll realize that you're slow to judge, slow to react, slow to react, period. Because context says you don't know what you just saw. Even though it looked amazing, or even though it was super ugly, you don't know what you just saw.
Yep. Next slide.
All drama comes from the need to be right.
I'm gonna let this sit, and I'm gonna put my spiritual woo-woo hat on, and I'm gonna say, all suffering comes from the need to be right as well. So all your suffering and all your drama comes from this need to be right. It's true story. True story. We want to be right more than we want to be successful a lot of times. And so our suffering, the pain we feel in our guts, in our stomach, the mad. Somebody came up to me last week, and who used to be in the class, stopped going to the class, business spiraled down, crashed and burned on like his last leg, and was like, hey, I want to talk to you. Saw me, I'm like, what's up? We start talking. So I'm trying to get this brother some good game. And so he said, I just be like, man, I be wanting to quit, so what advice would you give on, like, when you ready to quit? Because I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, man, I'm too intelligent to be doing this bad. Perfect slide for him if he was here, right? Because who gives a fuck how intelligent you are, how right you are, how smart you are? Business doesn't care. Business doesn't care, because intelligence is like one of 16 elements that make up a successful business. So if you lean in on just being intelligent, you're missing 15 others. And them odds is not going to be in your favor, because you have to give energy to all the rest, learn all the rest, train all the rest, build the muscle of all the rest. So intelligence and being right, as a radical person who takes radical responsibility, as you now know, there's times you gotta be wrong. There's times you gotta be wrong when you're right, because you want the success. You don't give a shit no more about being right. Yep, you're right. You're right. It's on me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you experienced that. As someone who now takes radical responsibility, because y'all all in this room, if you ain't yet, from now on, you're going to take radical responsibility for everything that happens. So being right, and know this, if you feel pain, you feel suffering, you frustrated all the time, you got drama all the time, most of the time that traces back to you playing the right and wrong game. Next slide. There it is. You cannot have both. You cannot have.
Real quick, remember what I said about that Martin Luther King statement? Mm-hmm. Remember I said a long time since we've had this class, most of the black people come to this class, they feel like they're good enough. Mm-hmm. So when you're wrong, you feel like I'm validating you're not good enough. And so a lot of times you have a desire for black folks and for folks who are suffering from poverty, you have a tendency to over leverage being right because it's your quest to feel like you're good enough. And ultimately, it's like you're playing a poor man's game, even though you think you're getting rewards.
Which one you want? Which one do you want? You could be right or you could be rich. You could be right or you could be successful. Mm-hmm. You could be cool or you could be successful. Understand, there's certain things you got to give up. There's certain things you got to sacrifice on this road, especially this leadership role. You got to give some shit up. Like, there's a thing called in my mind. In my mind, I can have it all. In my mind, I can get rich and not have to do no work. In my mind, fuck that shit. Like, in my mind. But we live now in this world where we give credence to in my mind. So it's not as much your fault as it is society's subsidizing it. But as leaders, we take radical responsibility.
We talk about comfort a lot, and how oftentimes that's like the antithesis to like growth. I'm thinking about your reference to Martin Luther King, and I'm just asking myself, was he able to be so cognizant of it because of the level of adversity that it was in, or was there something else going on in our social context that made it more likely that he would take that on? Because I'm thinking about socially as being subsidized. Was it not being social? Like, what were the conditions that you would say made it more likely that he would get to this place of like, I don't really care about that. It's my responsibility.
It's once you take, okay. Martin went to Morehouse and he was a high performer.
Yeah.
And he sat amongst many leaders learning how to lead. Oh. And also he was a minister, which also was a great discipline. The religion he came from taught these principles. Like Court knew a lot of these principles. When I talk to Court about something, let's say Court didn't have one of these characteristics in the past. If I say, Court, hey man, you gotta take radical responsibility in that. He has a religious background that allows him to go, I know where that comes from. I got it. Like, I don't have to. He had these disciplines in his life, right? Like, he was primed for this role. He didn't come from just the slums. P. Diddy said something real quick, and I ended on this. P. Diddy said, he's a billionaire now. And he said, it hurts. I said, what do you mean it hurts to be a billionaire? He said, because it's all about my people. And he goes, the higher I get, the more I realize how much my people are hurting and what they don't know and what they're not exposed to. And so these ideas, they feel normal because the masses of us are in, the opposite of these ideas are the massive rhythms, but the masses of us are in such a deep funk as a large group that when Court is saying these things and your face twitches or you be like, whoa, you're typing and your fingers are shaking and you almost mistyping words every 4 minutes, it's because the norm for you, the environment you're in, is made the opposite the norm. Whereas if you were to if any of you guys were able to, I got a podcast coming out this week about this guy saying the ways he became so successful is he had to get around other people and learn to move, talk, and think the way they think. Because the way he talked, when he came out of college, the way he talked and moved and thought was not the way entrepreneurs move, talk, and thought. What happens is that if you guys were to actually go sit in the presence of high performers for like 6 months, this would sound like elementary to you. But if you're not amongst high performers and you come out the hood, this seems like I'm asking you to carry the cross.
So real quick, last exercise. We're gonna do an exercise before we're done. So we move to go to the next slide. What kind of questions do you ask? So here's what I want the audience to participate with is, what kind of questions would you ask if something happened? say a business deal just fell apart, and it was the second or third business deal that fell apart in the last 2 weeks. What questions are you asking yourself if you're a to-me leader? Who wants to start?
If I'm a to-me leader, why? Ouch.
Like, why this happened to me?
Yeah.
Why does this happen to me? That's a good one. What's another one? Say it on them.
They're not my customer.
All three of them? Damn. Okay, that's another great one.
What's wrong with them?
What's wrong with them?
Why is my product not good enough? for
Why is
them?
my product not good enough? Anybody else?
How come nobody want my stuff?
How come nobody want my stuff? Why is this happening to me? They not my customer.
Lot
They
of
must be.
statements.
They biased. They biased. They only support people who look like XYZ or do XYZ.
They biased. They hating.
I think there's a lot of statements as opposed to questions.
Go ahead.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. Have you got? Go
We're
ahead.
over mentored and underfunded. Sorry.
I'm over-mentored and So guess what? Most of the time you're feeding yourself with this type of information, and you know what you're telling your subconscious mind? It's out of our hands. All the shit that's happened is out of our hands. You have no power at this point. Now, what type of questions would an as-me leader ask? Or, a through-me leader ask?
What can we do better?
What can we do better? Ownership, radical responsibility, another one.
How can we learn from this?
Well, how can we learn from this? That's the best question. Radical responsibility. Now you just turned your L into a W.
What is it that I'm not seeing?
What is it that I'm not seeing?
Where are the gaps?
Where are the gaps?
Like, where are the gaps?
Where are the gaps? Anybody? Who else? Anybody else?
Who knows this better than I do that I can talk to?
Absolutely.
What can I
Absolutely.
learn from other industries who face this challenge and figured it out?
Absolutely.
How do I increase my awareness?
How can I increase my awareness around this? Absolutely.
I don't know if what was said was already said, but my brain, when I'm noticing a pattern, I'm always thinking about where can I learn more about this, like this blind spot.
Absolutely. Similar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're going to help make me better. Thank you. You see the difference, though? You see the difference in motion and action in real time. And a lot of times we're good at the first part because those come natural, way more natural. If we do a count, there were way more of those on the front half than there were on the back half because you got to be trained. You got to be trained in radical responsibility to come up with questions continuously on the second half.
Do I really understand the issue or the challenge, or am I asking the right questions here?
I have one more. What systems can I put in place to fact check me for the next situation?
Are my assumptions off? Where are my assumptions off? What am I assuming to be true that observationally is not playing out? How can I go back and let me walk back and look back at how I got to these assumptions and see what's still in play and what's totally false?
How did I create this?
How did I create this? What blind spots is this showing me?
Or like what biases are present in this process?
How did I create this? What biases are present? Think about it. Most of the time we show up and it's like 3 times in a row, damn, why does this keep happening to me? I'm going to go, maybe I'm cursed. I'm going to go speak to the lady.
Pray on it.
Or I'm going to have somebody pray for me. Or I'm going to do certain things. Off of 3 in a row failures, they do everything but take responsibility. 3 times in a row?
Why are you running?
You ain't my customer.
Why are you running?
Real talk. So in closing on this, it boils down to the questions you ask yourself in those situations. That's the play. Whenever you get into a pickle, whenever you get into a situation, whenever a challenge hits you, the difference between radical responsibility and the to me leaders start with the questions you ask at the very beginning. You can say damn and shit and fuck at the beginning all day. But once you finish doing that, the very next question has to be a radical responsibility question. Even if it don't feel right coming out your mouth, what can I learn from this? What's good about this that I haven't even noticed? What's good about it? What can I learn from it? Who can I talk to that can give me game and give me a different perspective? Ask radical responsibility questions to any challenge. Starting today, take the action. Let's go back to the first slide. Beliefs and knowledge ain't shit if you're not doing nothing with it. So start practicing. When you get into a situation, something don't go right, even if it's your kid wilding out or anything, car honking at you, somebody cut you off, somebody took your parking spot. I don't give a fuck what it is. Start practicing. What can I learn from it? Start asking radical responsibility questions. And then you'll see how you'll start transforming into a leader. You'll start transforming into a leader, and things will open up to you, start generating more revenue. I mean, I don't know what else I can say to convince y'all. Because I've been on both sides. I had all the excuses to not do shit, or to be like, look, I did the best I can, look. But the amount of money that I've generated over that type of transformation is no comparison. There's no comparison. So try it. Get out there and go after it and try it. Start practicing it in every opportunity. All right?
Listen, we talking about practice.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass, and I'm homebound.
I swear to God, he gonna pay for this one.
Staring blankly ahead.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right. Hey, by the way, I'll make my happy. I just want to say I'm super happy today. Kaja brought my cake in today, and y'all know how I feel about Kaja cake. I swear to God, Kev, I've never fought you a day in my life. I swear, look here. Hey, I ain't even tell my own 5-year-old daughter about this cake. This one of them cakes, like, this is grown folks' rum cake. Huh? It's missing. So, so today is a glorious day. You understand me? You know what I'm saying? I have a dream today. I'm going to go home and eat that rum cake. But anyway, until y'all have Kaja cake, y'all understand why this is a very happy moment for me. And I feel like we almost need to have a moment of silence just to think about how happy I'm. No, it's not. It's for my birthday. My birthday, the day I was born, not everybody else. Okay. Hey, I got a couple of good podcasts coming out. Shakina, you gonna love one. Oh, you already got the one on the business and the scaling, the couple. Okay, yeah. You can thank me. Yeah, you can thank me now. You can thank me now. So there's how'd you? Oh yeah, you got that. I posted in that group. I was like, how'd you get it? Superhero. I thought she had some FBI skills. I forgot I posted it. Damn, she's good. And then I have another one on refresher on the ego, which is going to be aligned with a lot of stuff that Cora's talking about. I have one that's really deep by Bolado about uncertainty and how it impacts a lot of decisions you make, which is you got to sit with that one, but it's worth it. Then I have one that shows how, now you guys know physiology impacts your level of stress, right? So how you take care of yourself, your sleep. Did you know that your physiology also impacts decision making? Do you realize that when you are under a lot of stress, that you lose your ability to use options? You go to binary in your decision making, because that's what your brain does as an animal, is fight or flight, right? Also, did you guys also know that the music you listen to shapes the quality of your decisions you make? There's a reason, like if you ever ride around with me, I'm probably playing dramatics, the Dales, I'm probably playing 70s and 80s R&B, because the music creates a certain rhythm in my heart that helps me improve my decision making. So I'm gonna release a piece. There's a podcast that I'm gonna release. That podcast there, listen to it like it's a recipe. It gets into like why the balance that you engage in impacts decisions you make and the quality of your output. Because once again, you can have theories, but the execution of theories really depends on how well you take care of yourself. And too many of us think we can abuse ourselves, neglect ourselves, and still have a high quality output. And this shit so matters to a point that even the choices you make every day are impacted by your physiology. So the podcast I'm putting out is going to really get into why that works, what tools you can use to measure your state of your current. So for example, if you find yourself getting angry a lot, there's probably like, for example, if your life gets to the point it gets unraveled because you're just not managing your time, your schedule, your sleep, you're running around like just hella busy all the time. Hella busy means you're gonna make poor decisions. Not because you just missed them. Your brain literally shuts out all the other variables and all the other possibilities. It gets to 1, 2. So all the stuff you just learned in class from court, if you're not taking care of yourself, or you're not managing your schedule, or you're overworking yourself, or you're just losing control, you're unraveling in your life, you will lose control of all these tools. They become irrelevant. Matter of fact, you would think about them in hindsight. So you've already taken a loss, you at home, you call court up, and court says, hey, that's not a record. You're like, fuck, I knew that. But the cost is already there. So just a heads up, how you take care of yourself, it does matter. Are we at my first slide? Okay, so I want to get back into. We're gonna try to get through the second order thinking, because second order thinking is so fucking powerful. It's probably one of my most used tools. This is in the top 10 tools I use all the time, daily, not weekly, monthly, or when things happen, but in all conversations with all people at all times. And playing the role of a father, role of a business owner, role in community leadership, role in in all those roles, I have to use it. If I don't use that in those roles, it's impossible for me to lead. So second order thinking is really your ability. If you're on a ship and you pull out the telescope to look over the horizon to see where you're going, that's pretty much second order thinking is. You have to kind of know possibly what could possibly be next, and then what strategical decisions to make based upon all the options and variables, right? So I want to really make sure, because we just scratched the surface of second order thinking. I'm gonna try to get through the whole process this evening. So Shabisha, you're gonna be on deck today. Ready?
Yep.
All right, let's do it, y'all. Let's jump into it. And here's the thing: stop me when you don't understand, because this is one of those things that if you don't understand, or if it's going over your head, you're in trouble. Because that means you're moving in a space of inspiration, but you're moving with no strategy. Like if you say, I want to have better business strategy, this is it. This is the foundation of it. Before I teach you everything else, if you don't have this basic first principle thinking, first of all, who can tell me what first principle thinking is? Anybody? Nobody? No one's in the house? Everybody went home? Nobody wants Nobody wants to say what first principle thinking is? Somebody want to take a guess? Oh, what does it mean to you when I say it? Let's go for that. Like, don't fear being wrong, because you got to be wrong to get right. To get it right. Oh. Okay, is it working?
I think so.
I think it's on.
Okay.
So, thinking from the first principle, what the notes that I have is everything that is not a law of nature is a shared belief. So, like, first principle thinking is that rudimentary like very shallow thought. It's not going deeper, but it's where it's the simplest when you break things down to the simplest compound. So it's like when you have a big idea, when you break things down, you ask why, you get to that final why, then you know you've gotten to that first principle. And then the note that I have on there is if it's not a law, if it's not a fact, if it's not an absolute truth, then it's just a shared belief amongst people. But still, first principles are built from those very finite details, the building blocks of what makes ideas and stuff.
You know, you remind me, that's how, when I first processed it, when I first heard it, I had it that complex. I'm trying to make it simpler for use. Anybody else want to add to that? I don't want to, there was nothing you said was wrong, it just contextually was kind of too far apart. Okay. Oh, we got go ahead, Jordan.
I would add on to what Fern said, asking yourself questions to go against your assumptions.
The key word is assumptions. So first principle of thinking is the addition of assumptions. Like, can anybody think about times when people are talking to you, they're making assumptions? Anybody? Mm-hmm. Huh? Go, Tennille. Oh, Shibishi, you warmed
Black
up.
Well, it's kind of a joke and kind of true. Like the time I assumed you'd be okay with certain pastries at the office and you weren't. So I was heroing and assuming.
Yeah, there's some first principle thinking there that wasn't being used. Absolutely, go ahead.
The way I'm thinking about it is we say black men. What does that mean? That's just a lot of assumptions. So first principles is like boiling it down to it's removing all of, as much as you can, is removing the assumptions from anything that you have so that you get down to what is core or what is like at the human level.
Anybody else want to add to that? Like, as far as when do you have you notice assumptions being properly, like being used in day-to-day conversations or decision making or business or family? Go ahead, Shakita. We know you had a mic. She was like this. I brought my own today, so listen. Go ahead.
When you're at work, when you're talking with your kids, when you're on social media, there's just a lot of blind spots that are being filled in where people are assuming things to attempt to move forward in a conversation.
So I'm gonna build off her position, off of the angle that Shakina just took. When do you not make assumptions? In day to day. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
You can use this one.
Oh,
I think that one is like weird.
I'll just grab his mic. Just slide him off.
Sometimes it's quick. Oh, I thought you were gonna, or people try to finish your sentences or ask a question but not let you answer it. A lot of times that happens. And recently I took my daughter to a park and there was a Spanish fellow there with his child. and I kind of made an assumption that he wouldn't speak English by how he looked, and I was completely wrong. But I didn't go too far with it. But I noticed myself making that assumption, and just you know what I mean. He was like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" I was like, "Oh."
So when do we not make assumptions?
Never.
There you go. No, you don't never really know that you know something. You're always making assumptions.
Because there's like the whole thing about a law, if you can't prove it right. I mean, if you can't prove it wrong.
Falsifiability.
Yeah, falsifiability.
Yeah. When people talk to you, when you're making all kinds of decisions in business, you got to learn to see all the assumptions. And there's more than a lot. There might be a couple things you know. Okay, it's rarely I say pig. You understand where I'm coming from? You say, oh, that's a pig. It's probably going, assumption. It's a pig. You know, you got to assumption. It's a pig, so assumptions. Oh, that pig, assumptions. You see where I'm going with this? Yes, you can have facts in there. Why is that important to be able to understand that framework? Because if you're trying to make big decisions, I called Shakira today and she's like, oh, this goddamn gas prices. I'm buying me an electrical vehicle. And I said, babe, I'm gonna veto that because I'm not open to you sitting anywhere for 40 minutes getting your car charged in the Bay Area right now. It's too heated. So get you a hybrid, right? So then she says, I said, oh, the Mazda that Shakina's looking at, the CX-90, which is hella clean, does 56 miles per gallon hybrid, and it's an SUV. Right, and it's kind of a sexy looking car. I can't in front. I said, babe, go look at that shit. She goes, well, I'm not sure if I really want a plug-in, because they say plug-ins is not efficient as far as how, the plugging the battery and all that stuff like this, right? And I said, oh, okay, now we're in the space of assumption. Neither one of us know. Let's look this up. Like, I don't know. I think it's hybrids. But I was tempted to say, nah. This hybrid is better than this hybrid. And I said, hey, I think this hybrid is better than this hybrid. Can you look it up and see if it's true? Mm-hmm. And then what's the pros and cons? And all of a sudden, all this data is popping up where our decisions now are starting to shift left, right. Where if you just left it from us doing barbershop talk, which is like, my cousin got this one car. Everybody says it's better. I had it personally. I know it's better. That's assumption. I'm trying to satisfy the answer from a whole bunch of compiled assumptions. And because it's so compiled, and I attach my grandmother to this assumption, my best friend to consumption, me, me consumption, the amount of money I spent to that consumption, to this person, the ancestors who died to this assumption. By the time I get through all these attached, enhanced assumptions, you'd be like, yeah, I guess that's factual. Damn, I had no idea. Shit. Guess you're right. And this happens in business all the time. Somebody charismatic comes in that sounds like Tony Robbins, and all of a sudden everybody's like, he done said all these other things intelligent, he must be intelligent over here. I'm gonna say instantly, like, I don't even know what that means. Like, my famous words, if you ever see me, am I lying, Shabisha? I don't know what that means. Which means that I heard what you just said, but we have a shared belief here. And that shared belief is a problem because I'm assuming with you. So I'm not gonna just be like, you like, you know what I'm talking about, like in Oakland? And I go, yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. If you say, black people usually, I'm like, ooh, I don't know what that means. If you drive this kind of car, I don't know what that means. Now, if I'm not making a big decision, I just ride along with it. Go ahead.
I had a dope experience with this. So I was talking to someone whose family is from Boston. Mm-hmm. Boston has dealt with far more segregation than Oakland. Mm-hmm. So she moved her family's from Boston. She went to college in Boston. Grew up in North Oakland, but she has a lot of Boston experience. Mm-hmm. And so it made her have a bias toward Caribbean people. And I grew up here in Oakland, and then I spent a long time in New York, where it's a very different field. Boston is not New York or Oakland at all. Mm-hmm. And so she was saying to me, well, my problem with them is that, they have a problem with being black. They want to get so far ahead talking about black people who are from the Caribbean. And my perspective was, I could care less what they think. That means not, like, who cares? Like, why is that relevant? But when she started to tell me about how segregated Boston is and how racialized it is, and she started to share some of the experiences, what I realized is we were socialized very different. And her experience really informed her perspective about Caribbean people in ways that I never would have, my journey didn't take me to that. So my thing was, well, I rock with them as long as they rock with me. And if they don't, then I don't care. I'm not interested in what, I'm not getting into that.
I probably would have stopped the conversation with not, I don't care, because I do care what you think, right? Like, it's some cold games out there. Like, if you go to certain parts of Africa, they're gonna make you feel really good to get you, to rob you. So
yeah.
So there's certain groups that would make that move. So I do care if you're trying to rob me.
Yes.
What I'm gonna say is that unless you have valuable data that I can falsify, then you're projecting your assumption.
And I was at first feeling like, in all honesty, I was like, what are you talking about? This is stupid. But then I realized, I was like, oh, we've had a whole different interaction with things. So while I still don't agree with the stance that you take, I understand how you got there. I think.
Yeah, and I think the key with first person, I mean, so kind of going to some of the stuff the court just taught, you go, and you throw it over your shoulder, and you throw it in your pile of, well, let's see. But you have no feelings towards it, right? I don't think I'm gonna try to prove you wrong, because you may see something, like I remember sometime, I remember I was arguing with somebody a long time ago about Mexicans in a certain part of LA. And I was referencing Mexicans in the Bay Area, and they was referencing Mexicans in LA. And I started getting offended for the Mexicans in the Bay Area. And then later on you realize, oh, there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
And then when you say difference, not all are the same, but there are particular groups or certain members in that group. And even in the Bay Area, the Mexican community of the Bay Area from 20 years ago and the Mexican community today has different variations in the community. Same thing with black community, right? So I don't really know what a lot of this stuff means when we make these big, so you gotta remember the brain uses heuristics to make these fast references, right? And it's okay. I don't wanna demonize that. So you might say, you know, as a black man, it's fine, right? But if you have to make a business decision, your money has to be put on it, you gotta know the difference between heuristics and actual playing the probability game. And when you play the probability game, you got to get into, like, remove all these assumptions. Like, I've been in a meeting with some guy who was telling me, yeah, you know, we teach our people to value relationships. I said, what does that mean? You know what I mean? You know how complex that is, the value. Like you understand the variations of value of relationship, what that means per culture, per age group, per land. Like, you understand based on politics, there's so many variations of that, right? And if you're a business and just assuming that your understanding of relationship value that you're trying to transfer to your employees is their relationship value, you won't even see the problem occurring or the disease starting to contaminate your business because you're projecting that they're doing what you want them to do, not realizing they have a different value. So you don't even know to drill down on the importance of relationships and what that means and what is your brand of relationships. You just say relationships. And they be like, oh yeah, I'm doing my thing. Right? Like for parenting, right? If I say my form of parenting is how I show up in front of my kids and working on myself. And then in addition to that, other methods go along with that. Some other people form of parenting is beating your ass and don't give a fuck don't do what I do what I say. Right? Those are two people that can be laughing and enjoying each other at the same time. But if you have a mixture of the wrong people in your group that you hired, and then you do some form of child care, and then you get a lawsuit because somebody whooped one of these kids' ass, and you're like, I don't promote that. Well, you don't know you didn't promote that because you just assume that the people that were working for you was in the same space of alignment. You going with this? So assumption game is so cold. Once you see it and you learn to hear it, but once again, knowledge is not meant to gain knowledge for power. I mean, I have more knowledge than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm better than you. Knowledge is meant to give you empathy. And if you use knowledge for empathy, then you won't go insane. If you use knowledge for power, you will go insane. because here's the thing you're bringing, you're saying, what's wrong with this world around me? Everybody's fucked up. It's crazy. That means you start finding yourself in a space of isolation, not enjoying people. But if you move in a space of empathy, you learn to enjoy people for who they are, where they are, because you realize life is imperfect just like you. And it's just like, this ain't got to do with business. I'm about to have a good time. When I go back to my business space, now if you're working for me, like you, if I know I have a lying ass uncle, I'm gonna laugh every day because I know he's gonna show up and lie, right? But I'm not gonna put my lying ass uncle in charge of my finances. Big difference. But I enjoy him at the dino table because we all know, oh, here you go again, right? So, anyway, ready? Mm-hmm. Let's just jump off in this. Don't do it. Don't you do it. Go ahead. Don't you do it. Let it go. You better not create a pause sound on that goddamn thing. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shamisha.
This is why any comprehensive thought process considers the effects of the effects as seriously as possible. Mm-hmm. You are going to have to deal with them anyway. The genie never gets back into the bottle. You can never delete consequences to arrive at the original starting conditions.
Why is this so fucking important? Go back to when Court talks survivor mode. When you're in survivor mode, you don't think about effects of the effect. Short-term thinking, you don't think about the effects of the effect. When you're in a fight or flight, or you're just trying to fight for your next meal, you cannot think about the effects. Yet, you're gonna pay for the effects. There's decisions you make. If you're just recklessly making these fast, emotional, blinded decisions, when the rooster comes home to roost, you're dead. And doing good and just trying to do a good job and having good intent and even trying to make the best decision at that moment, there's no such thing as a best decision if you don't consider the effects of the effects. So you think about, if I do this, this will happen, which could cause this to happen. Do I really want that to happen? Every short-term decision should be a long-term decision in business. Every short-term decision should be a long-term decision in business. If at any point you get caught up in this idea that you're making short-term decisions and they're harmless, because sometimes the smallest harmless decision you can make right now could turn out to be the worst decision you've ever made for your business. Right? Like you ever fed a wild animal before and they tell you, don't feed wild animals? It's innocent. You just give them a little piece of bread. Now next time you go over there, you can't even go there no more because now the animals are attacking human beings. From an innocent act. Your business has the exact same impact. The most subtle, small things you do. If you're in business and you're making a decision as a leader, even if you made a decision from impulse, go back quickly and go, what's the impact of that decision I made today? Like at the end of your day, when your day's over, start analyzing all the decisions you made that day and look at their impact. You're playing a different game. So a lot of your impulses are not aligned. So when you play a different game, you might say, this makes me happy. That's because your happiness is still attached to your servitude, not your leadership. So you may make a servitude decision that starts to smother your ability to be a great leader. Like I'm hanging out at a party with y'all and I'm trying to just join in. I'm just one of y'all. Right? That's gonna cost me some money. That's gonna cause me to lose some employees. That's gonna cause somebody to say something to me that's inappropriate one day while we're in the middle of business. So even if I want to get loose, I need to find my circle and go hang out with my circle. I don't get to have fun like that. I don't get to do a lot of shit. Okay, Beyonce don't get to go to the motherfucking Disneyland. Beyonce don't get to go to festivals. Beyonce don't get to go to malls at open times. Beyonce don't get to go to a football game and sit amongst everybody else. Beyonce don't get to go to a regular church and just chill. Once you take on certain responsibilities, you give up something else. Mm-hmm. Y'all want to still be everybody and then be a leader, make a choice. You're going to destroy, one going to destroy the other. We walk by a different rhythm. If you're a top-of-the-line surgeon, you don't get to hang out with the janitors and the nurses. I'm sorry, you just don't. You can say hi to them. You can like them. They're good people. You value them. They make you who you are. I think Martin Luther King talked about this. He said he got on a plane, he watched the black workers come up to the plane and work on the plane for like an hour while he was sitting on the plane for the plane to be repaired. And he realized the pilot couldn't be a great pilot without the workers keeping the plane working. They're all the same part of the same thing. So when he received his award, his Nobel Peace Prize award, he said this award is dedicated to all the workers who made me who I am. So it's not that you don't see value in them, you just can't be them. It's over. If you want to be them, stop being a leader. But you can't be both. Humans won't let you be both. They won't let you be both. Absolutely can't. Like if Jay-Z shows up to a strip club tomorrow, he's gonna be trashed in more ways you can imagine. He's gonna be judged in ways that you would never even judge yourself or your enemy. Because envy changes the conversation for leaders. Next slide. Envy changes, because when people have envy for you, they don't judge you equal. They judge you by what you should be and where you should show up and how you should. And so you don't get to be everybody else. You just don't. Next slide. Okay, so next slide.
Stupidity is the same as evil if you judge by the results.
You said, that's so when you're not doing second order thinking, you can be a victim of being called evil even though you didn't have that intent. Because you did something for good intent, but when it unfolded, you came off as evil. So stupidity, and they didn't say, Margaret Atwood did not say make a mistake. She said stupidity. So if you're not using second order thinking, you're moving in a stupid ass way. You can say, no, say that shit if you want. Next slide.
In 1963, the UC Santa Barbara ecologist and economist Garrett Hardin proposed his first law of ecology. You can never merely do one thing. We operate in a world of multiple, overlapping connections, like a web, with many significant yet obscure and unpredictable relationships. He developed second-order thinking into a tool, showing that if you don't consider the effects of the effects, you can't really claim to be doing any thinking at all.
Did y'all read that shit? Did she have to read it again for y'all? Like, okay. This right here is also the formula of relationships, the formula of roles, a formula of leadership, formula of everything. Everything's connected. This is why narcissists can't be leaders. Let me tell you why. Because if you're a narcissist, you grab the microphone. It's one of your own. It's your own anyway. But if you're a narcissist, when you make decisions, you say I. As a leader, you don't get to say that no more. When you say I, you got to take care of I. That's to be very clear. But because everything has complex connections and overlapping, an innocent act over here, I was just doing this. Shit. That's a different standard for a leader. All this interconnection, that's why, I remember a little time ago, Shakina was talking about like this social circle thing is complex. That was accurate. It's fucking complex. There's so many small rules. Anybody knows when you join different higher level social groups, there's so many small rules depending on how high you move up in that group because of the connections and connections to connections to the connections to connections. Matter of fact, that's why you don't even gossip. Of course, we'll get into that in a second. These complexities of connections is insane. Fucking insane. So everything you do has a repeated action type of another repeated action type of another action. Now, the last thing it says, if you don't consider the effects of effects, you can't really claim to be doing anything at all. So a lot of you guys are showing up at work every day. If you don't use second order thinking, you're literally creating, it's like you're taking a bucket of sand and you digging there's a big old pile of sand and you dig the sand and you throw it back to the top. And at the end of the day, you're like, I'm not going nowhere because you're not using second order thinking. Go ahead, Shakina. And Court, jump in anytime you want to, man.
Okay. I lost a little bit of it, but I was trying to type it out. So what say you to when people fall into leadership positions, but they are narcissistic? Because I have come across a ample amount of narcissistic leaders that may not have went after the role of leadership, but they ended up being in a leadership
And they
position.
don't last. They die.
Okay.
Like you
so
see
you
them
can't be a good leader,
No, you can't.
not a leader. But
No, you can't be a good leader. No, you won't survive.
Okay.
You're eventually going to sabotage yourself. It's just a matter of time. It's like when you play in a probability game, it's not a direct tit for tat. If I do A, B gonna always happen. It's almost like if you were playing some high risk game, it's just a matter of time before you die, right? But this game you're playing, like Russian roulette. Every time you pull a trigger, if you're playing Russian, if you're spinning it, you may be able to pull the trigger 100 times and never fucking die. Doesn't mean it's not inevitable, right? So you might say, I know this one guy, he pulls that trigger, he spin that motherfucker, it's chrome. That shit, yay! He ain't never died. 6 months from now, you come back, that motherfucker dead. That's what probability games are like. So the reality is that narcissism, because what happens with narcissism is when you have an impulsive feeling. It's not about the calculated decisions. It's about the impulsive decision making. So, for example, let me just get this one. I like this one. Whatever. I like this. This is who I am. And you don't realize that you're drinking is your competition, and the camera's on you, and there's all kind of. You don't think about nothing. You're literally just thinking about self. Now, if you had been thinking about others, you would have said, "Which drink should I drink in front of these people? What would be the best drink should I grab?" Mm-hmm. Your brain moves different. It's not. You don't start with me first. You think about what is the best move to make right now, because ultimately, you are satisfying self. If you can make all this stuff work, the hopes and dreams and the absolute satisfaction of self is being taken care of. But you get there by serving others.
Hey, me add too is that's how a lot of folks jump into, I want a foreign car, I want a Mercedes, I want this, I want a Range Rover, and without first principle or second order thinking, you get it, and then either that car payment come, or it's time to do maintenance on it, or you need an oil change, and your last Honda Civic cost you $29.99 for an oil change, and now you taking it to get an oil change, and it's $479, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta do this every 6 months, so guess what? It stopped happening every 6 months, and that effects thinking that you didn't have to get that foreign car, now you just drove that car into the ground, you pay hella money for it, and now it's worth nothing because it's crashed and burned. So that's why this type of thinking is so powerful, to sit back and say, all right, well, what happens after I buy it?
If I say to you, hey, Kaja, let's be friends, I use second order thinking. Can I afford this friendship? Do I have time for this friendship? Can I handle Kaja's choices and her problems? Can I take on those problems? Will she victimize me economically? Can I count on her if I really need her? Right? I'm evaluating all that let's be friends. There's no such thing as let's just be friends because we're twinsies. You make the best. Well, which by the way, this don't count because you made the cake, so I'm not talking about you. But let's say I'm talking about somebody else. But I fuck with you. Her, she got that special treatment. But the point is this: I'm saying is that look, that cake. I don't even like cake like that. You understand me? Shit. Look here.
Let me buy a slice.
Come on now, don't come at me like that because you talking my other side. I got two sides. I'll be fucking around talking about $300 for a piece of cake. Hey, everything's negotiable. Point is this. So what I'm just saying is that self is ego. Put that same word the same. Narcissism, self-ego. All three of those make it where you can't use second order thinking. You just can't. Ego says, I'm at the center of the world. So I gotta serve myself in order to serve you. I'm not happy. If you're not happy, you don't blame the world, you realize there's something wrong with your positioning. Mm-hmm. So you reposition yourself. But when I make decisions in my business, what I'm gonna do is, how do I gotta serve my employees, I gotta serve my customers, I gotta serve my vendors, I gotta serve the customers I don't even know yet. And so when I'm moving like that, what can get in the way is me, and me. I got to learn how to discipline to take care of myself on my own. That's not my customer's responsibility. It's not my employee's responsibility. If I'm suffering at my business because I take radical responsibility, I've made a whole bunch of poor decisions that wasn't second order, and now my schedule's out of control because I made impulsive decisions that made me feel good in the moment. I didn't think about the effects of the effects when I made this. You know what, Kaja? I tell you what, every Friday I'm going to help you. I'm coming by your house, and I'm going to help you make these cakes. I think we got a possibility to make a business. Horrible idea. Not saying she might be a billionaire for that cake. But for me, that's no second order because I'm thinking, if I come to her house and help her with this cake, who's going to take care of Nzinga? Who's going to hang out with Diallo? Who's going to talk to Shakira? Who's going to talk to Gabby? Because Gabby, that's my other daughter. Y'all kiss my ass. That's my daughter. How do I take care of these people if I'm always running these little errands? I think that was Shakina and Diallo was challenged me about going to T-Mobile the other day. And I was like, no, I'm not going to T-Mobile. It's just crazy. I'm not going to T-Mobile. I don't give a fuck what I spend, whatever I do. I'm going to T-Mobile. It's like, it's just T-Mobile, just go down here. It's like, stop. You guys missing a point. I value family. I've clipped all small errands. I've been clipped from my system so I can have more family time. With my work life and my exercise life, I had to clip a whole lot of noisy stuff so I could show up in this one area. So when I chose not to go to T-Mobile, it wasn't because I couldn't figure something out. Second order thinking says, long term, that is damage to my relationship to my family. See where I'm going with this? So I make a lot of decisions based upon the effects of the effects of the effects. I try to stay so far away from, I just have an impulsive decision. And if I make an impulsive decision, I'm telling myself, prepare for when some shit might come back. Some shit might just come back. It just is what it is. I mean, we know that from being in the streets. You get a bad little chick and you at a club and you make a impulsive decision, that shit can go south real fast. I didn't do one night stands because of that shit. That shit was too scary to me. Not him, her. Hey, give me the next slide. Go ahead.
Okay.
This is close. This is crazy. Go ahead.
High degrees of connections make second order thinking all the more critical because denser webs of relationships make it easier for actions to have far-reaching consequences. You may be focused in one direction, not recognizing that the consequences are rippling out all around you. Things are not produced and consumed in a vacuum.
So everything you do, you outside, and you're like, I told that bitch. You don't realize how many relationships you just damaged. Now, some of y'all live separate corporate lives. You got 5 friends. 5 friends. That's pretty easy to manage. 5 friends. But here's a fucked up thing. You lose your job, you realize how many relationships you damaged outside those 5 friends. You didn't call somebody back one time. You was late over here, white lie here, didn't pay the person back all their money, or they had to fight you tooth and nail. Now in your mind, you did everything right? But you don't have second order thinking of, if I told this person on Thursday, I need to make sure it's there on Thursday because I gave my word. Like there's rules, there's OGs that came before me that had all these rigid rules of how they moved, about everything they did, and they made it a law in their own mind that they didn't break it because they understand this rule right here. Is that, let's say now you're running a company and you got hundreds of customers, hundreds of friends, hundreds of people have interacted with the associates, and now every time you do something online, everything you do now. So now you are officially, the first year of FIT Media, when I taught FIT Media, I said, if you're going to become an entrepreneur, call yourself a politician. Because now at this point, you are always on camera. You're politicking at all times. I'm kissing babies and waving at people every day. Now in my mind, I might be thinking, these motherfuckers got on my nerves. I don't show up. When I see people, I try to deal with my personal stuff over here, and when I show up in people, you say hi to me, I'll be like, "Hi, how you doing?" If you have the same complaint, I'll get to right to it. If you have the same complaint every day about something in life, do you realize how much it goes from being a complaint to you're a complainer? You see, I'm going with this like it's these small things that start to have a different impact. And when it's time to move money, you are confessed that you are not the right person to invest into. And it was all innocent laughs and jokes. That's why you have to learn how to be a leader. That's why what Court is teaching right now is part of second order thinking, which is the way you show up. It's going to impact future possible magical, lucky-based opportunities, which is you're creating a pattern, a rhythm, a brand, a perception that's going to change the way that the world interacts with you. Go ahead, Shakina.
All right, y'all.
She looked like she's going to hit me. I was like, what did I do?
Okay, so I don't even know like if this question is gonna make sense. I'm gonna just say that.
Okay.
But I feel like I really need to ask this question. So how do I tried to type it out before I forgot it. I said, how can what you just said, how can that of always politicking pour into our society's posturing and fake it till you make it culture? How do you politic while preserving relationships and connections? And then, wait, side note, because that's all I could get out of my head. More context.
Tight.
I often, okay, I'm human. I don't like looking stupid. I don't like looking bad. I don't like not knowing answers. When I come into Hope, it's my safe space to not know the answers, to look dumb, to ask all the questions. And I've often been told that I'm at the same pace or further along than other people, but I make myself look bad because of my vulnerability and my questions. The way my brain frames it is, this is a safe space where you could fuck up and not get judged, even though people are always judging. But so my brain goes like, yo, it doesn't matter how people are judging you in this space because this is you gotta stay humble so you can keep learning. But then when I go out into the outside world, I might make better decisions or make more money or have more knowledge than somebody, but because I am putting myself in a position to ask questions more, to learn so that I don't keep making the same mistakes, it gets looked down upon, and so then people just posture. So, yeah.
There's so much there.
I know.
There's so much there. Okay, let me. I'm gonna try to hit it, and I'm gonna try to start from the top. Pause and make sure that I cover. If I don't give enough substance to this argument, just my response. And if Court feel comfortable, just chime in, even cut me off. I don't give a shit. There was so much stuff you said wrong there. That was the problem. The problem is in the way that you're framing all of it. I'm comfortable being stupid all the time because you know who I am, because of the work I put into it. You earn your right to be there, and the times you make mistakes, you earn your right to make those mistakes. Even I'm reading Martin Luther King, by the way, I'm going back to his autobiography. He was making a hell of mistakes. He constantly missed to what he didn't know and the mistakes he made, and like I was about to quit and the shit just worked out and I was like, oh shit, okay, let me keep going, right? Now, when we tell the stories of Martin Luther King, it sounds so like I knew this and I did. No, he was like, hey man, I thought this was morally correct as a Christian. I took this action. I was totally naive. I had no idea this didn't work at all, right? He wrote this in his book while he was still like in his, he didn't write a paper, he wrote all these papers that he was communicating to the world. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Sometimes I just don't know. If other people didn't come around me and help me out. Let me show you how you being fucked up by your perception of people who don't qualify that perception. The people who are posturing, I'm gonna use very harsh language, but please soften it. But I'm gonna go harsh just for you to paint a picture, not because I see it this rough. You're taking the voice of the bottom feeders and defining your role as a leader. Okay, if I'm posturing, I'm a faker, right? I'm faking. I'm doing big things. Look at my bank account. My bank account says I'm homeless, right? So when I try to snob you and you respond, You're really responding to your perception of my value to your value because you don't feel valuable enough. I feel so valuable that you say, no, that's highly ignorant. I'd be like, damn, tell me what I did wrong. I don't feel a need to be like, I'm not ignorant. I went to this university. Y'all heard that shit before. I went to this university. I did this. I know this. I did this. Oh my God, you get on my fucking nerves. Shut up. No university gave anybody everything. That's you defending your sense of being devalued. The reason the radical responsibility is so important to you, probably even more than anything, is because you're still questioning your value in that whole comment. Everything you said was a question to your own value. All I heard you doing was going, I don't feel valuable enough. So here, I cannot feel valuable enough and feel like I'm safe. But when I don't feel valuable amongst the value list and the value list snob me, that shit hurts me. So then I posture this position and I'm like, you got a fucking gym. Dog, you got a gym. You ain't got no motherfucking like shoebox with money in it and you sell a move or two. And two is that if a motherfucker got a degree and you got a gym, you still winning. If a motherfucker got a job and you got a gym, you still winning. If a motherfucker's a millionaire and you got a gym, you still winning. It's you that shrink the value of that. You don't see the value, and you don't realize that in order for you to continue to climb, you got to turn off all those titles and definitions and limitations and who they are and who you are. All that shit has to become smothered and get to a space of, hey, hold on a second. I just need to know. I'm trying to win. I don't give a fuck about it. Like when he said you try to be right, are you trying to be successful? You kind of did a rendition of that a second ago. Because if you were trying to be successful, like what is stupid? What is ignorant? A lot of times the way we call ignorant in our community is like, well, he said it earlier, we try to shame you, right? Blame you. So shaming is, oh, you don't know that? Oh, I'm better than you. That's a shame game, right? When people shame me, I'm like, you trying to shame me? Sometimes you call it like, you trying to shame me? That was cute. Anyway, no, I don't know. Can you tell me again? like it is like, because that's a second moment in my brain. This second moment means nothing in human history. Nothing. The only person gonna make it mean something is me, and I'm gonna die. So it meant nothing. But what will matter is what I leave behind or what I build. And so in that moment, I can let you feel like, yo, you know what, now you the dumbest motherfucker I ever, oh my God, you're working with you so fucking hard. I'm like, okay. Remember when you was helping me with framing? And you got on my, I promise you, the way you snapped on me got on my nerves. But I realized you knew more than I did, so shut the fuck up. I didn't even show you my response time. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Come thinking, because if I get her mad and she walks away, I'm back to zero. So, and her judging me don't mean shit. It's just me not liking her the way she talked to me. So, and what does that really mean? Does she really fucking hate you? No. Is she really mad at you? No. Is it really her more than you? Yeah. All right, shut the fuck up. That's the process I went through. And I paused. One of my tricks is I always try to pause before my first response, unless you've just been abusive to me. Because if I pause, it gives me a chance to breathe and put things back into context. Because my brain could take my hood background and be like, this motherfucker. And I'd be like, what's that mean, Nana? Go ahead.
Just touching on that point, I want to drive it a little more, is people use blame, shame, and guilt as a form of significance when they have less value than you, because they know that that's a trigger for most folks. So I can, if you're up here and I'm down here, then I can test to see if I can use blame, shame, and guilt to bring us to the same level, because I gotta equalize you. You doing big shit, and I feel like shit. So I gotta equalize you. And the best way to equalize situation around people, because most people haven't got to that stage where blame, shame, and guilt don't affect them, is to throw that out at you. Let me nitpick some shit. Let me say something ain't good enough. Let me bring you down. Let me say what I'm doing. Let me say what I'm doing is better than you, to see if I can trigger you. And once I see that I got you, oh, now I can breathe. Now we're on the same level. Now realizing you went down.
Yep.
All the way down.
I'm gonna attempt to say this in a non I can't even think of the word. When I made the statement of I don't like being wrong, I made that in the frame internally in my head. I made that in the framing of like, people think that like, oh, you don't care about looking stupid. And I'm like, I do, but I care more about winning, about paying my bills, about paying payroll, about growing my business. And I think, not know, that the tone that you're saying is me judging my value is more so, I am proud of what I've created, but I know that it is not the end. It is the beginning of something. And in that curiosity, I am constantly measuring myself against where I'm at and where I want to go. And so if I'm not where I want to be at, then I'm constantly like, what can I do better? What am I doing wrong? How am I fucking up? Like, where are all the blind spots? And then I'm asking questions on all the things that I don't know so that I can do better, but not feel value.
If you're an NBA player and a fan says, you know, you could do a better job, what do you think an NBA player would do? You think they hear you? I'm a professional NBA player. You're just a fan that walked in, paid your ticket, and you're like, you ain't got no game. You could dribble better than that. You can shoot. You know what? You have a level of knowledge that I don't have access. You might have been told by the coach, don't dribble. Your role is to play these two roles here and we'll win. It's a formula. Because you don't win by everybody just playing great basketball, like on one-on-one streets. I mean, 5-on-5 on streets, which is the worst because it's just fast break game. In the NBA, everybody plays a role. Like Looney from the Warriors, he's got 18 rebounds one time a game. He was a scorer in college. When he got to the Warriors, he's like, no, you're not a scorer. This is your role. So somebody be like, Looney, you can't even shoot. I might not can't shoot anymore. That's not what I've been focused on, right? But if he allows that to get into his head, he's going to betray the game he's playing, right? The way you secure your confidence and the way you move is the investment you put into yourself. If your investment is not rich enough, this is something only you'll know. I mean, you're not reading enough, you're not practicing enough, you're not qualifying yourself enough, you're not going after your licenses, you're not doing all the shit you're not supposed to be doing. It's really they're touching a sore spot that you haven't satisfied in yourself. But if you're on top of your shit, if you go to me and be like, nah, you don't know nothing about marketing, I'll be like, who the fuck are you? I don't know where to start with this conversation. I don't even know if I should even, like, I'll be like, wait, is this a joke? Like, did Kevin send you to come talk to me or something? Because I don't know why you're even talking to me, right? Because why? Because I put so much work into this. Now, if I meet somebody who's better than me and he goes, no, you're slipping in this area. And I go, well, who are you? And they go, well, I do this. And I'm like, well, shit, let me sit down at the table. Can I buy you dinner? Because now I look, but everybody else, now, the way I will listen to you, so let's say Kevin didn't send the person, he just comes to me like, hey, I don't think you're good at marketing. The first thing I'm gonna say with radical responsibility, what am I doing to give this person the confidence that I'm not good at marketing? And so I'm not gonna take it as a direct feedback, I'm talking about what have I created to allow this to happen? Is this not displaying itself at the proper level? Did I befriend this person in a way that's inappropriate? What am I doing? Have I said something in the past? So I'm going to take ownership. There's some ownership there. What I'm not going to say is that person's evil. I'm the good person and being victimized by evil people. My brain doesn't even translate it like that. So a lot of the discomfort has something more to do with you than the people around you. And if you can unlock that it could also be a little trauma induced as well. But as you unlock that situation, you realize that, so there's something you said earlier. You said, I don't like being wrong, but when I show up, I do this. I would tell you, then you're not aware of self. Because if you feel something inside, when you're conscious, in control, and fully aware, you think you are showing up accurately to what you are trying to do. But what you feel will poison everything you do. So your feelings have to be, so you have to expand the way you think and find value in this other feeling to the point that it draws you towards wanting to be that, and then you become authentic. So if you're really a person that really wants to learn success is more important than being right, then even in you, because what happens is that, this is what y'all do, you'll get impulsive. You're at a party and you're playing Monopoly, and also you gotta be right? And everybody look at you like, oh, damn, you're going too far. Because you're so busy suppressing it over here, and even when you suppress it, it comes off kind of tainted because you don't say it right, or you don't time it right, or you say, no, you know what? I thank you for sharing with me. I mean, I thought I was right, but I put a lot of research into it. Obviously, I didn't do all my research, and me being a smart person, it's crazy I didn't see that. But I'm willing to learn from you. Oh my God, too much. You're killing me. Oh God, Smalls, kill it. So I'm saying this is why you have to own it, because it doesn't feel authentic, because it's gonna come off as if you're trying to be something else. It's almost like customer service. Hi, welcome to McDonald's. Can I help you? You don't give a fuck about seeing me. You want to go back to look at your cell phone. It's a difference between that person when you meet somebody who really enjoyed their job. It feels like, damn, this person, shit, I feel good. So authenticity, if you have one feeling that's a contradiction to how you're showing up, no, you're not authentic in the way you're showing up. Even though to you, because you're measuring you against you, you're not putting yourself in a room, measure yourself against all the best people doing that and going, oh shit, and looking at it on video going, oh damn, why did I do that? Why did I blink every time I say it? I'm cool with being wrong. Shit. Right? like it just, so the authenticity is lost because there's a conflict on the inside. Go next one.
Second order thinking is not a way to predict the future.
You can't do it.
You are only able to think of the likely consequences based on the information available to you. However, this is not an excuse to power ahead and wait for post facto scientific analysis.
That was his slide. Y'all just saw that slide, right? Like, there's no absolute, but doesn't give you an excuse not to perform. Mm-hmm. The same fucking thing. That's the same one. Second order thinking, I hate them sometimes. I just want to let y'all know I hate them, because somehow we don't even talk to the weak like that. And I come to class like, man, what the fuck is this? But the same thing. It's like you're playing the probability game. Remember, the future is never promised. This is why I hate people overplan. They're planning as if the future is going to go the way they planned it, and they get upset. The game you're playing is probability, which is what is like. You're gambling. Life is a gamble. You're just trying to be a better gambler. That's all life really is. When people, sometimes because you speak historically with certainty, because it's already happened, you think it translates to the future with certainty, and it doesn't work that way. Next slide.
Second order thinking teaches us two important concepts that underlie the use of this model. If we're interested in understanding how the world really works, we must include second and subsequent effects. Mm-hmm. We must be as observant and honest as we can about the web of connections we are operating in. Mm-hmm. How often is short-term gain worth protracted long-term pain?
That's short-term gain creates so many. I see. This was my complaint about the cohorts. All these black folks going to these cohorts. Yeah, to raise money.
Yeah.
With these nonprofits, you got the short-term gain. They're gonna cause you some long-term pain. You said, Nana, how does that work? I'm gonna keep it a simple method. I'm not gonna get all the details. I'm not gonna act like I was sitting there next to the girl going, oh hell no, they didn't say this to you.
Who is that person? When you go, I just want to meet him. I got to meet her.
It's my childhood. Okay, it's the women, some of the women in my life combined. The thing is that the pressure and the tension that you go through in the beginning of your business, trying to figure out how to sell your product, makes you a better business person. Because when you first start to sell, okay, go back, if any of you guys are entrepreneurs, go back to the first day you decided what you was going to do. You had the perfect idea that no one brought. Right? I'm going to do this, and it's going to blow the fuck up, and you came home with all of your product. Right? And so what you discovered is, you learn how to talk to people, how to think, how to sell, how to shape your products, how to market, how to do your finances. All that comes from friction. You remove that friction, ain't no reason to do all that shit. Who's gonna learn that shit? So when somebody gives you money too early in the stages, it's like taking the wings. It's like taking the butterfly out of the cocoon too fucking early. And then you wonder why that butterfly can't fly? Because you motherfuckers keep going to get this little $20, $30, $40, $50,000 for these motherfuckers who are lying to you. Mm-hmm. They can't guarantee. Here's another thing too. Let me tell you why I'm gonna use harsh language. Put your kids away for a minute. Those I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your kids will. Okay. The reason why y'all become bitch made is this. Because scarcity got you fucked up. Scarcity makes you so single-minded in the way you see shit. Scarcity makes you think that everything is predictable, like you're moving to certainty. You're trying to look for certainty. You're so hungry for certainty because uncertainty has been killing you at this point. So you're trying to make everything about, I don't want things to change, I just want things to stay the way it is, because you're going through scarcity, survivor mode, right? And so you never built a relationship with uncertainty, probability, randomness, variability, volatility. You haven't built any relationship with it. You don't even know that shit exists. It sounds foreign to you because when you're in survivor mode, that shit is the scariest thing your brain can even engage. Now you want to play entrepreneur and nothing's guaranteed no more. Because as you start to grow, you realize, oh shit. But when you go through the storms, you're taught that lesson one way or another. Some of this shit's gonna really hurt. You're gonna get your ass whooped into the game. Like knocked the fuck out, wake up the next day and be like, oh, I should duck. Like literally that's how hard this shit gets, right? But when you skip that fucking process, you're caught up in the illusions that there's a level of certainty. You know, the reason business is not working, my business plan is off. It's always gonna be the fuck off. That's a guarantee of a business plan. Ain't no such thing as a business plan. Business plan is just giving you some idea to work out your strategy, the complexity of your strategy and how to move forward with it. But that shit better be prepared to change day one. Day one. How many times have you guys seen an event and somebody had a budget and realized somebody comes along and be like, you better double that budget? Mm-hmm. Right? That's life, because unpredictable shit gonna happen. Or you building a client and you give them an accurate, like, I can live with this number here, and somebody's like, you better find some contingency. Like the first time I did a big contract, the black woman pulled me in the back room and said, brother, put some contingency on this, 10 to 20% on this. You don't know what the fuck's gonna happen next. So based upon this second order thinking, if you're not, so now once you bake into the idea that everything's unpredictable, then you realize second order thinking is your only form of security you fucking have. Without second order thinking, you are just moving like a beautiful swan-looking fool. Go ahead, give it to my partner ass firm back there. You understand me?
So when you're implementing this second order thinking, you're thinking of the effects of effects, and you get down these rabbit holes. I'm trying to think, how do I prevent myself from that, analysis paralysis, where you're just going down, oh, well, shit, if this, then this. What about that? Oh, man, what about this? And I'm thinking, like, as I was thinking about, asking this question, I was like, so do you just kind of set a stake in the ground, see how the decision plays out, and then learn from it based on?
We're about to get into that. Couple slides. Couple slides. All right, next slide. I'm going to jump right into that in a second. Yeah. Second order problems. This is cold. Keep going. Next slide. Go in.
Warren Buffett used a very apt metaphor once to describe how the second order problem is best described by a crowd at a parade. Once a few people decide to stand on their tiptoes, everyone has to stand on their tiptoes. No one can see any better, but they're all worse off.
This is a ghetto recipe. It's a ghetto recipe. Systems beget systems. So when you're running a system, know that a lot of times you can create a system that creates behavior that creates a new problem. So, and it's the contagion of human behavior so if more people do something, like they said, one of the fastest way to destroy a bad business is to give it good marketing, right? And so a lot of times second order problems in this case is like, it's almost the reverse side of looking at how systemic racism work, which is white folks created these legislations, laws, and systems that created bad behavior. Then I behave because that bad behavior then creates behavior. Martin Luther King spoke about this. Martin Luther King, the reason he didn't like Malcolm X was one reason, which is a legitimate reason we have to think about. He said, if we teach our people the level of violence that he's talking about, it eventually turns on themselves. And then they'll take the violence they have for white people out on each other. And he said, so the reason I'm teaching nonviolence is because at the end of the day, I'm trying to teach a certain level of values that we can come through the storm and still stay at a certain moral level. But we can morally deteriorate by buying into the ideas like, because Malcolm was like, if they hit you, hit them back, right? But when you can't hit them back and you're practicing violence, eventually you hit each other. And Martin was like, nonviolence, the principles that surround the nonviolence movements is by always carrying yourself at a high level and high standards. And by compromising those standards, it's dangerous for people who are in a bad, impotent position as you spread it on a larger basis. But he said, at the same token, I think Malcolm X is one of the most amazing leaders I ever met. I just disagree with his principles of how to move forward. Interesting thing. Keep on. I want to keep on because I want to try to get this part of Fern asked for. Keep going. Next slide. Go back. You jumped hella slides. There you go. Go back one more?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, go ahead.
Second order thinking and realizing long-term interests. This is a useful model for seeing past immediate gains to identify long-term effects we want.
So this is very important if you're trying to move in this world where people always put, you remember the story of Jesus Christ when the devil came to him, was like, I give you this, and this. And then Jesus went to second order thinking, because if I get this, I'm taking this loss. Some of those things he offered Jesus, I probably would have took some of them. I was like, I don't know, I'm not Jesus, because I'd be like, wait, how much? But Jesus was using, this is important because in business, you're going to get a lot of shiny things put in your face. Fern, am I lying? I mean, I'm sure you get the worst, right? So there's going to be so many shiny objects, shiny offers, shiny opportunities. All these shiny things are going to be placed in your face. If you don't know long-term thinking, you will sell yourself. And then here's the thing. People who have long-term thinking, you can't hear them. They're going to hurt your feelings. Because you're going to get all this emotional rush towards this idea. And when somebody goes, that's a bad idea. If you do that, by the time you get to the third move, you're going dead in the water. See, you just don't want motherfuckers, you don't want to let motherfuckers shine. I can't have no fun around here. You just want me to work every day, just you go all extreme, you put the most extreme comments in the world, and now you stuck in this loop, and then you go out and do it, and then when the shit goes wrong, the second order people back up from you. They go, okay, well, it's on you. Now here's the thing, when you don't use second order thinking, and you turn to that people and say, hey, give me $100,000. Fuck no. I'm gonna give you a dime. If an investor see that you don't have second order thinking, they ask you second order questions. And they since you don't have second order thinking, this meeting's over. That's why they tell you, go ask over 100 investors if you're looking for investors, because you'll learn second order thinking based upon them going, all right, this is over. Thank you very much. Keep going.
This is often conflict for us, as when we choose to forgo the immediate pleasure of candy to improve our long-term health. The first order effect is this amazing feeling triggered by pure sugar.
So stay with that for a second. So when you make that first decision, it's sugar. It feels really fucking good. This is why I don't give a fuck about your feelings. When I say fuck your feelings, I get tempted by that same shit all the time. If anybody you know what I'm saying? Look, I can't tell you how many times, like, Mashama said to me when we was in our 5th year of business, he said, dude, how do you continue to avoid all these mistakes? Or building a relationship with all these bad people? They all came in, he would have said yes to all of them. But when I played out the moves, I said, well, that's true, and what you offer me, The next effect of that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm out. What's the play here? And this game is not about, nobody puts me on as an entrepreneur. You got to put yourself on. So if somebody's telling me they're going to put me on, what's the play here? You got to, and if you want to invest in me, I got to have enough meat on the bones for you to get some money back. And if I don't have enough meat on the bones, what's the play here? You see what I'm saying? So I made so many no's of so many different things. I had a cat come to me one time and say, Nana, I've been playing basketball overseas. I got $300,000. I got to invest in something. You and Mashama are hella close to me. What can y'all do with $300,000? I said, not a motherfucking thing. I'm not even there yet. If I lose your money and that gets out, that I took your $300,000, do you understand how many relationships I will destroy? So let me, and then two, my business, so I told the story, I ain't told the story in 3 years. So I was going through my roughest time, really bad. I'm laying on the couch, and I'm talking about I'm broke. I'm talking about $20 a week for food. That's all I have, $20 a week. I'm at the discount grocer with the rainbow color.
Grocery outlet.
Grocery outlet. Oh, I'm the king of grocery outlet when I was back there. I was so poor. Hey, them hens, them frozen hens, saved my motherfucking life. And I would buy potatoes and fake ass bacon and eggs. Oh, I was making life. I'd take an egg and some potatoes and bacon and be mixing that shit up. Now, mind you, I just started dating Shakira. So Shakira's like, babe, let me help you out. No, I got this. So my brother called me. He's like, yo, man, I heard you hella poor right now. I said, yeah, I am. He says, oh, no, dude, I think I couldn't get over $100 in the bank at the time. This was like a really bad time. And I created it. I told myself, yo, this is on me. It's not on anybody. It's on me. I'm not about to blame nobody else. So he's like, yo, let me give you $1,500 so you at least eat. I said, fuck no. He looked at me strange. I said, because whatever got me here, I got to figure it out. And if you give me the money, I'm going to be back here again. Second order thinking said, I need to go through this to figure out what about me is causing me to be here. So something about me needs to change, and I can't see it. And if you get me in my comfort zone, I'm doomed to just be back here again. And I don't want to come back here no more. So let me just go through this painful period. I wouldn't let nobody give me a penny. I'm talking about, I was like, she's like, oh, let me just take you to dinner one day. I was like, nope, you can't take me to dinner. Why? I said, because I'm a man. I won't take you to dinner. So something I'm doing that's fucking up my life that put me in a position that I'm not a kept man. You'll never keep me like that. My manhood depends. And to this day, she respects me because at a time when most people are like, yeah, help me. I was like, my manhood depends on my role in this household saying no to you. Even though I'm hungry as fuck, my stomach's like, dude, just take that bite. Just get that plate. just let her order this shit in. And my manhood's like, yeah, but your manhood's about to be bitched up, bro. So hold your position. If you ain't dead, you be good. Now, I found out what the problem was. It was my ego. My ego was out of control. And when I was able to attack my ego, a lot of stuff came to me. But it was me. And I would have never got that if I wasn't using second order thinking. Keep rolling.
But what are the second order?
Go back, boy. You got the Jewish fingers. Go ahead.
But what are the second order effects of regular candy consumption? Why are you this way? I gotta start over. Hold on.
Time to move on. We're over that shit.
But what are the second order effects of regular candy consumption? Is this what I want my body or life to look like in 10 years?
Stop. So some of y'all are so busy trying to be happy. This is the danger. This is the intersection of happiness and great life. Some of y'all chase happiness so much, your life is going to be fucked. The rest of your life will be fucked. Because you keep making these impulsive, happy, candy-based decisions that has nothing to do with the quality of your life. That's what a dope dealer lives. That's what the life of a dope dealer. A street-level dope dealer that makes hella money in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, they were happy as fuck. Cars, the jewelry, the girls, the stunting, going places, blowing money. Like I remember back in the days, I had a neighbor who was a dope dealer. He never wore the same. He'd buy outfit, wear it, and he had a pile of clothes he just let people come get. I'm never going to wear it again. Right? He's dead. Straight up, he's dead.
Oh my
It's I don't think you guys understand. Like, I know dope dealers who play the long game, and they got businesses now. Because they understood I had to say no to certain things to get the future. But in the corporate America, some of y'all, I'm going to get that paycheck, and you skip the lesson. It is what it is. This short-term pleasure, that's why I don't give a fuck about all these short-term pleasure arguments, because I'm playing a different game. I don't care. I miss hella shit in the name of a bigger game. Right now, I have the freedom of choice. I have financial comfort. I have great relationships. I got all the favorite toys I want, right? But you know how much stuff I had to give up to get that? How many moments of excitement, joy, whatever. When Court said he was working so much he didn't see his son. If he was using second order thing, he would have been like, yo, I gotta say no to that. Yes, money's on the table, but if I say yes, I'm gonna lose this person. The pain that shows up on the back end. What if you have to bury your child because you was chasing all your happiness? That's a real talk. What if you die at 52 or 49 or 45 because you're just chasing your happiness? What if you lose your home and in a fucked up apartment because you're chasing your happiness? Playing the long game means saying no as many times as you have to say yes. But you got to use second order thinking to know when to say no, when to say yes. But always saying yes to what feels good, what's exciting, is a recipe for self-destruction. You'll be upset in discomfort many days for long-term happiness. Remember, long-term happiness, a pleasing life, a great life. Not you have to wait on happiness to happen. You enjoy your fucking life because you're never going to avoid ups and downs. So you're in a position in life where even though you're going through ups and downs, there's a space you exist in. But when you're just chasing happiness, you don't realize you're really living a life of the bottom. That's all you're doing. Like, it's just totally, I can't begin to, this is a cold-ass second-order principle. Keep going.
Second order thinking involves asking ourselves if what we are doing now is going to get us the results we want.
And trust me, this shit is way deeper. Next slide.
Finding historical examples of second order thinking can be tricky because we don't want to evaluate based solely on the outcome.
So, you can't use outcome thinking. Remember I told you outcome thinking analysis is the worst form of analysis because you say, well, you just did it a minute ago. What about when people do this and this happens, right? That outcome thinking is a horrible analysis of second order thinking. Keep going.
It all turned out well, so he must have thought through the consequences of his actions. Even if you can glimpse the long-term gain from your short-term pain, there is no guarantee you're going to get there.
So even if you do everything right, it can still go wrong. You're just playing the probability game because there's never a guarantee. There's no way you can guarantee the future. There's none. So second order thinking means that something random, a black swan happened that just changed everything. You're doing everything right and a fucking war breaks out. Imagine Shakita's busting her ass. She's busting her ass. She's working her ass off. You can tell when you go to her gym. And all of a sudden, some shit happened with the city and they just say, oh, we're going eminent domain. Here's $30,000, good luck, figure it out. Or something else happens that's just unpredictable. That's what life is. Keep rolling.
Developing trust for future success.
This is actually, what is this called? What word can we replace this sentence with? What's a word?
Faith.
Faith. Oh. That's all. This is a faith. This is the words of faith. I'm teaching you a lot of stuff your Bible's been teaching, your church has been teaching you. It's just I'm giving you a different way of saying it. Next slide.
Trust and trustworthiness are the results of multiple interactions.
Stop. God, this is getting good. This is one of my favorite. I'll tell you second order thing. Tennille, you see that, right? Kaja, you get that? What does that mean to you? So give her a microphone.
It means that you may not see the outcome of things on your first few times around. You may be building your base that's going to be your sustaining base, but it may not become a sustaining base until later on down the road.
No. Anybody else get this? Shakina got her, let's use your personal microphone, Shakina. That's a new trend now. We need to get one just with her name on the side.
It's gonna have a little tiny hand on it too.
Yeah, true. Brand.
To me, what I'm taking away from this is it takes consistency, because oftentimes we'll put on a good face, but people are going to believe what you consistently show up as.
More than that. Anybody else? It's more than that. Close, but more than that. You want to stop there? You want to just go ahead.
Making up for all that lost time, I wasn't in class. To me, trust and trustworthiness are the things that are built over time, over multiple interactions, trusting yourself, trusting the process, and then people seeing what, not just what you've done for yourself, but people seeing the results of those transactions, the years that you've built. It builds that trust in yourself, but your trustworthiness as a decision maker or a leader.
So that's the closest answer. And let me just add to her answer, but there's the right lane. Every interaction is an act of trust. This is why I said narcissists can't do it, because narcissists will not pay attention. They pay attention to what they feel, not the importance of every interaction. Every interaction begets trust. If you call me and I say, look, I'm gonna call you back and get this information to you today, Kaja, and then 6 months will come along and be like, oh, I forgot. You lost a certain amount of trust for me. But and that's why one of the things that older cats would do that I grew up under, they'd tell you, I'm not gonna give you my word if I can't, I'm not sure if I can do it. Because they understood that every interaction, when you're sitting around, okay, if I'm with you and I say, the other day I was hanging out and I was at the store and I fandangled this dude, I got 2 for 1. You all been like, I'm not sure if I trust you. Watch this, brothers. Man, last night, I was at the club. My wife's at the house, so I told her I was with you.
Bruh.
Everything you do, multiple interactions. Don't think like, I did that one thing. I paid you back that one time. Everything you do.
Hey, I was in a car with somebody, and we went drive through, grabbed some food. We're eating in the car. He finished eating. He threw the cup outside.
That kills me.
I'm like, I'm not fucking with this dude. Because
That's simple.
that type of energy, like the effects of effects that's inside him and other things, I can't trust.
Trust me, we're playing a too high a game. The more money you get, the more you realize how you gotta look for all signs of everything. You're looking for patterns. And so, especially if you have valuable people in your life, don't be surprised if I say, hey, Kaja, everybody knows I like my cars, my motorcycle, right? I love my Harley, love my BMW. And let's say I said, hey, Kaja, you knocked that bottle over. There was a stain of water on the floor when we left where you were sitting. You'd be like, it wasn't me. If it was me, it's probably them loose ass bottles. 2 days later, you say, hey, Nine, can I just park your car across the street? No, I'm good. I'll park it myself. You just showed my trust with that argument there. Because you know why? You don't take responsibility. So if you damage my car, you're gonna blame the street, the car that's coming down the street, the kids, the distraction, the sun, the fucking rain, the air. I don't got no time for that. But if you said to me, hey, yo, my bad, Nana, hey, I won't do it again. If you see it again, I'll take a double look when next time I leave, and you show me a sense of responsibility, and I say, hey, you want to park your car across the street? Yeah, here you go. See the difference? Or let's say I said to you, you said to me, you say, yo, Nana, I wouldn't find this special insurance, I really don't give a fuck about my car like that. Yo, can I park your car across the street? You lost my trust. Airing your dirty laundry. Me and Court, one of our first conversations was, yo, we keep our dirty laundry to ourselves. And it's not because we scared of people. We realize that ain't the game we playing. Because once you air your dirty laundry to somebody, you will make mistakes as human beings. Nobody's asked you to be perfect. But once you start to celebrate, because that's, especially in our culture now, we're trying to celebrate our dirty laundry. Right? We're trying to celebrate our flaws. Like a lot of these singers and rappers who are like celebrating their worst behavior, it's gonna be a steep fall for them. Because people ain't gonna fuck with them that can actually have to stop from falling. That's the way the game works. Go ahead, Gasha.
This is, you probably know better than me because you've been in business in the Bay Area for some years. But I'm finding this is like rampant in the Bay Area business circle. And I also find that a lot of people use entrepreneurship to try to justify this, right? You reach out for services. I give you information on the best way to contact me to consult on services. You do that, I don't respond. Or I make you chase me around the calendar to get a little bit of information, right? Or you make a deposit with me for business service, and I keep you on the hook to close the loop of what you can expect from me until the 11th and a half hour. And what the feedback I got was, entrepreneurship is different. You're approaching it with a corporate mindset. They're not going by the same kind of calendar and rigidity and planning you are. You have to see people. And I'm like, no, you're in business. If you say A, you need to do A. And you don't get off the hook for that because you're an entrepreneur if you said it, right? Like I asked you, and that's what you told me. So I'm just going by what you said.
So let me tell you what. So it's complex. Remember, nothing's in a vacuum. You know what the biggest problem is? Everybody's scared to be straight up. This fragility of this fake ass entrepreneur system we're in right now. I'm lying. People are scared to tell you, no, you suck. No. Mm-hmm. Do you realize how that will spread like a disease? Now, I'm known for it, and I built that brand so I can get away with it. And Mashama now does it. Mashama just told one of the team members, don't you ever do that shit again. And that's not like I'm telling you that I'm going to fire your ass. I'm not fucking with you no more. Right? When he fired our last employee, Mashama was like, yeah, you just not working out, bro. You know what it is. Here's your last check. We don't need to talk about this. That level of, get your kids out the room. That level of bitch assness creates that end result behavior because I'm too scared to tell you the truth. You gotta be bold enough to say, no, I can't fuck with you. You don't have enough money, or no, you're not my kind of customer, or no, I don't do this, or no, you know what? I really don't want to do your job, or no, I don't really do that, what you just asked me for, or no, whatever the no is, right? What we do is we fake it till we make it. That means I'm really faking it. Like going back to what some course shit she said. So when you ask me to do some stuff, you kind of ask me more than what I'm really willing to do. I'm not willing to push back on you because I don't really destroy my status. Because status in most black businesses, because we don't feel like we're good enough, is more valuable than money. So at the end of the day, there's a degree of honesty. This is why I hate this soft ass shit, because motherfuckers come into this game and they want to play this soft role, right? But in business, honesty is harsh, but it's not harsh to those of us who are surviving and eating every day, but to the corporate world, it's harsh. In the corporate world, the way you say no is, I don't think this is a good fit. And let me tell you why. Because I think you're a great person and I celebrate you, and you're special to me. But I don't think I'm qualified to help you. I think it's me, not you. You suck. I can't fuck with you. That's not a response. And the reason I say you suck is because you should. Like I told this one dude, I was talking to somebody recently that's starting a business, a major minister on the East Coast, and I said, "Look, man, you're in your second year of business. I mean, running your system. You're gonna suck. Can you accept that? So that way you don't spend a hell of money trying to fix something that's not fixable." The only way you're going to fix this problem is have more experiences with your congregation, which will make you perfect. But the path of perfection is not yours, it's the experience. So if you sit on this phone and try to posture with me like you're great, then you're distorted by your ego. Now, I said that shit as direct as fuck as I can. Now, you decide to get off the phone and hate me and cry, but one thing I trust in is that life, I have faith that life at some point is going to say, he was right, huh? Because I'm not lying to you, but in Oakland, when all this fake ass business, that is creating them to break their word and destroy their interactions, which then destroys trust. And everybody, this softness is crazy. Softness creates bad interactions that destroys trust, and that trust is necessary for a business to grow. I've always been strictly honest with people, but there's a reason I'm honest because I want to give you permission to move on, not sit around and wait on me. Mm-hmm. All right, let's just because I want to just do possibly 2 slides, but let's finish this slide. This is why.
This is why second order thinking is so useful and valuable. Going for the immediate payoff in our interactions with people, unless they are a win-win, almost always guarantees that interaction will be a one-off. Mm-hmm. Maximizing benefits is something that happens over time. Thus, considering the effects of our actions on others or on our reputations is critical to getting people to trust us and to enjoy the benefits of cooperation that come with that.
Can I say this in some hood language? You ain't my friend if I just met you. Mm-hmm. Friendship is what you grow into. If you say I like you and we should be friends, that means we're on a long journey to eventually become friends. If you rush to bring people into your life, celebrate them, and give them the rewards of friendship, you're playing a dumb man's game because all you're doing is projecting. Friendship has to be earned over time. No one gives you friendship. No one gives it to you. If I like you a lot and I first meet you, I go, let the analysis begin, not you're my friend. Because if you ask me for $1,000 the next day, I ain't giving you shit. I don't fucking know you. And I tell myself the day one, even in old school dating, if I met you on a date and man, we finishing each other's sentences on the first date, I don't fucking know you. I don't know you for about 2 years. Friendships take hella time. When you have a friend, that's an investment. That's not some just passing moments of happiness. But when you don't do second order thinking, you're taking your emotional impulses, misreading it, and going, oh my God, we're friends. No, we're not. I don't jump into trusted relationships with you without going through all the formalities because I don't fucking know you. This is why dating a motherfucker from across the nation is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. I don't know you. I'm not gonna get on. I won't go to Sacramento for a date. I have no context on who the fuck you are. You can sound beautiful on the phone on one-on-one and come to find out that nobody fucks with you in that city because of all the shit you've done that you eventually gonna do to me. Almost every woman I never known who got on a motherfucking plane to go date, marry, or be with somebody tells about the horrible breakup. Now, I know somebody did it for business purposes. And they told me about the same fucking thing. You don't know people like that. Trust has to be earned. When you hire a new employee, I don't love none of you motherfuckers. I don't. No, hey. Okay. I didn't. I swear, she earned that shit. When she first came in, she's a human being in a position. Stop. She's in a position. Why I feel that way? Because when I fire her, it's nothing for me. If I love her too early and she starts to fuck me over, I'm taking losses because of what I projected into this relationship. I'm not a trick. I'm not a business trick.
Come on now.
Oh, I love you. Oh my God, you're you're everything to me. Today.
I mean, you know the rules of the game.
I hate him so much right now. I'm telling you, like, relationships are earned. Stop thinking you can give it away that fast, or you can be cool with everybody, and you hire people. Oh, I like you, and you're the greatest. And then you feel overweighted because of you. When it's time, when you find out who they really are, you're like, oh, they let me down. They didn't let you down. Your dumbass concept, because you was using second order thinking, let you the fuck down. I don't love none of them on day one. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5.
What about your child?
Huh? Child's on a different group of rules. Because a role changes. That's a good ass point you just actually made. That's actually fucking brilliant. That shows you important. It goes back to your other argument you made earlier. Roles make you have to go against some of the other rules, which is radical responsibility, right? Like, is there a time that I'm going to play the fairness game? Of course. There's some place you're going to play. If I'm in court, I'm playing the fairness game. I'm coming for you. I'm coming to get my motherfucking money, right? But my child gets more chances because I'm assigned by role a commitment to that child. And that means that I got to have way more slack forgiveness, you know what I mean, for my child. But for regular world, like, that child is under my rulership. So I'm assigned to that child. So that child doesn't control me. I control that child. So I can't be like, that child got me all pissed off. No, I'm pissed off and I'm blaming the child. Right? But when I'm moving in society, I'm moving to realize that I don't control, I'm not your daddy. I wasn't there from day one. I don't know the context of all these people. I don't have context of none of this. So as you walk into my life, when I try to project context, it's me projecting on you. It's not you showing up. Because for you to show up, you got to be consistent. And here's a rule. This is such an important, oh my God, this is so much fucking game. That's why I said second order thinking. You don't understand how much fucking game this is. When you see a system, branding often will cause you to call the system by its brand name, not by its real name. So if a system tells you, no, we're here to do this, but they keep producing that, then that's who they are. But when you project, you can fall in love with the brand. Oh, they're here to help the community. They're here to make my life better. They're here to sell you fucking products to make a profit. They don't give a fuck about nothing else besides profit. You ain't no number one employee. You're the motherfucker that's helping make a profit. Shut the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. They don't got no love for you. But when you understand second order thinking, you're like, oh, this is the motherfucking game. I get, you're not mad at it. I don't really, this is the game it is. But if you practice this right here, you'll learn to see systems. And the number one rules of systems is look at the outcome of the system, and that is what the system really is, no matter what it brands itself or names itself. The same thing for people. People are a walking system. When you gotta let them reveal who the fuck they are and what they're capable of doing. Don't be like, oh, I trust you. We have so much. I know you'll be there for me. Oh, when have they been there for you? Have I ever saved you before? How much money they ever gave you? They ever arrested your ass before? How much time have they put in? What sacrifices have they made for you? Then you just made some shit the fuck up. There's no such thing as immediate best friends. There's no such fucking thing. That's because you're not using your second order thinking. You're using impulsive thinking. So you're using short-term gains to only find yourself hurt because you projected on what you want this person to be. You're fucked up because you're like, they let me down. They didn't let me down. Then you let yourself down. What the fuck you want to blame them for? Let's get this last slide. Next slide.
Being aware of second order consequences and using them to guide your decision making may mean the short term is less spectacular.
Oh, wait. I think that can you just say that with your wonderful Shakespearean female voice and repeat that? Just get to the spectacular part. We start from the beginning and get to the spectacular part.
Being aware of second order consequences.
Hark.
I couldn't even come back to that because I was just like, huh?
Hark, be aware of second order consequences. Thou shalt understand and using them. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And using them to guide your decision making may mean the short term is less spectacular.
Oh, that means that a lot of times when you're making big time decisions, short terms is not spectacular. Has anybody ever made an investment before? Does it ever feel spectacular? Do you understand that? Okay, raising a family, let me say this real quick. Raising a family is a whole bunch of non-spectacular things that feel great long term. That means you got to engage in a lot of boring routines. You may call it boring because you can't do what you want to do. You may have to follow a whole bunch of mundane acts. You may get up in the morning and get kids ready every morning. That's not exciting. Sitting down every night, do homework. That may not be exciting. Making sure the child spends 3 or 4 days hanging out, having conversations with you. That's not exciting. But that spectacular future, that amazing future, comes from all that mundane, non-spectacular shit you do right now.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Hey, can I add?
Go ahead.
I think this applies to a lot of broke, split households, baby mamas and baby daddies. A lot of times, we want to be right so bad, and that feeling with our kids' parents that we'll sacrifice the long-term benefit of the child to have short-term good feelings of funking with our baby mother. Wouldn't it be beneficial from a second order perspective? You got 18 years to build a good relationship with this woman who has your child, or this man who you share a child with. You got 18 years to do it because you know the benefits long term. Now you're gonna have to be wrong sometimes. You have to feel stupid. You're gonna have to put yourself you have to make all these unfun adjustments right now, but for the benefit of your child. And it sucks. It may suck, but when you look at your kid in the end, you're like, damn, whoo, we did it. You can't be true to your day-to-day happiness and be true to your child, your business. Like some of y'all can't even do, business is a lot of boring shit every day for years. But some of y'all are so high on pleasure, you keep adopting all these fucking pleasurable things that takes away the survival of your business. You gotta sacrifice a lot of your shit. You decided to be a fucking leader. You know, just go get a job. This don't apply to you no more. But once you decide to become a leader, you giving up a lot of shit. Once you decide to have a child, once you get married, you giving up a lot of shit. You said that a certain kind of way.
He did.
Hey, man, look
Shit,
at
my
I was like,
Hey.
Shit.
Okay. Listen, I wanted to join a motorcycle club because I like to want to ride with somebody sometimes. She don't ride all the time. She be off. Like some days she be a Harley girl, and next day she's flying on some goddamn wing thing, right? Okay, I want to fucking ride. So I'm like, and then all my other partners, I got these old conservative ass business partners like, yeah, you could die, motherfucker. So at this point, I'm like, fuck it, okay, I want to just join a club where I found some clubs with highly educated black men. I can't, because that means my Saturdays and Sundays will be stolen from my children. I'm not giving this mandatory Saturday to go ride, and Ezekiel's like, Dad, let's go play. I'm taking my daughter every motherfucking time. That means I gotta give up some of the things that really excite me to make sure my family's stable. That means I could be looking at let's just say I like Gucci. I was like, man, that's a clean ass Gucci jacket. And then school about to come up. Yep, I don't get that jacket right now. Don't make sense. I don't buy this certain kind of car right now, because I gotta make sure I have this kind of slack to make sure my children have what they need. My child's in a fucking kindergarten that costs $3,100 a month. $3,100 a month should be for kindergarten.
Bruh.
Yeah, these are expensive ass blocks, right?
yeah, it is.
Okay, so, but guess what? It's like, what investments am I willing to make for my child? Or do I sit there and be like, nah, it's about me. There is no me. My mentor said this shit to me one time. He goes, "You see my daughter right there?" He goes, "That's my life now." That shit was dope to me. He goes, "No, I ain't got no life like that. That's my life. I ain't talking about what I want. That's my life." And you was say, and at the time it was hard for me to understand that because I was in I, me, ego stage. He had already built millions of dollars of company, so he already let that I, me go. So he's a multimillionaire. He's taking his children to Japan for clothes for school. We're gonna fly to Japan. Love, get it over. Y'all want to fly on back. Me, at the time, if I had kids, we're going to Ross. That's all I had, because I was too busy blowing my money on my fucking thinking. Shut up, Josh. Don't Jewish me. Don't Jew me. Okay, keep going. Just keep going.
Okay. The short term is less spectacular, but the payoff for the long term can be enormous.
You guys don't realize how enormous it can be. Keep going.
By delaying gratification.
By delaying
now,
what?
Gratification.
Because that word for some black folks might be, they might think like you're talking about gratuities, or gracefulness, or being grateful, right? Can you just real quickly for those at home who may have a spiritual link to the word gratification? What did it say?
By delaying pleasure now.
There you go. Hey, there you go. There you go. Give it to them the way they hear it. Go ahead.
By delaying pleasure now, you will save time in the future.
You will save what?
Time in the future.
What's the most important values in this game?
And money.
Okay, so time's at the top of the game. So by delaying pleasures right now, you will save one of the most valuable assets to us as entrepreneurs. See, to a rookie in this class, they didn't hear what that meant. But if you delay gratification right now, you get back time. Keep going.
You won't have to clean up the mess you made on account of not thinking through the effects of your short-term desires.
So you mean a lot of people who are busy in business right now, who's running around with their hair cut off, is because they didn't use second order thinking and they have compounded bad decision making, and now they try to make that shit sound like it's good business? Mm-hmm. Somebody go home and smoke a joint to that one. Kids, I don't promote marijuana. Let me be very clear. Uncle Nana don't smoke weed. Don't drink alcohol. I just talking about I turn my microphone down? Okay, test 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me turn my microphone down. So kids, it's not what you think it is. Anyway, what point is this? So you some of you are proud to be busy, not realizing that you're proud that you're a fuck up.
What'd you say?
Many of you are proud to be busy because you're making fucked up, stupid ass decisions. That's what I told you. It's called stupidity, right? Can I use the second order thing? It's called stupidity, right? You so stupid, your life is fucked up.
Shots fired! Shots!
And yet, you want us to praise you for that stupid shit. I'm speaking very direct, Nana style. Like if you talk to me one-on-one, this should discourage you to ever call me one-on-one, by the way. Like if you're a social justice person, just don't ever call me. Find somebody who can interpret this. Like call Shakina. Shakina might be nicer because she still has nice stuff in her. I'm gonna tell you this is stupid ass shit because you're making stupid ass decisions, and now you trying to act like you're doing big things. Slow the fuck down and make better decisions. Am I like that, Shabisha?
Yeah, you are. You're nice to me most times, but you can be that way. Yes.
You said what? Oh yeah, my niceness is earned.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you first met me, and you know what's, I'm gonna close out on this. Do you realize that usually when I'm an asshole, I don't realize until after I said it? Because I'm actually speaking truth, and I'm trying to shock you to wake up because you got so many cloudy ideas that's trying to protect you. I need to be able to cut through that and be like, no, you're full of shit.
Well, also, I think that what you do is you punch first, because what I have observed over the decade of knowing you is that you want to see if somebody's how they're gonna take a hit and come back, and if they're gonna come back humble and learn from it or not. And if they don't, then you just be like, good, because I won't fucking talk to you anyways.
Also,
but you're hella loving and caring, and everything you say is honest, but you just don't filter it. But I think it's intentional.
Well, also too, when I filtered, okay, Court, you can relate to this back in the days, when we was Wild Boys. Well, actually, Kev is probably worse. So, point is this: remember when you was trying to be a player, but you was super nice and philosophical with a woman, and it never worked? Because then she became attached to you. You know what else becomes attached? Soft, earthly people, when you speak soft, they're attached to you and they continue to pour problems like a fucking pouring rain on you, right? So what I do is I give you direct honesty to shoo them the fuck away. In my conclusion, if you're an entrepreneur, you're built a certain kind of way. You're built a certain kind of way. Like you have a certain kind of drive to you that if I push you down, you're like, I'm getting back up. Push you down. What, you think I'm gonna stop? Right? Like like when you meet a real entrepreneur, they don't crumble easy. They don't stop. Like it takes literally God itself to stop them. It's that much power to stop a real entrepreneur. Everybody else, it just takes a myth or a molehill or a group of ants who are just rushing between places for you to be, oh, better stop. He said this offended me. Ooh, stopping. Oh, I guess you don't believe in me. Who the fuck am I to believe in you? Who the fuck you think you are? Why you? You. The reality is that entrepreneur, if I talk to Court actually the exact same way, but Court talks the same, like, it's just built in. I can say, hey, Court, that don't make no sense, bro. If I turn to y'all who are not built like that, there's nobody I can think of right now, but I'll talk to somebody that's not built like that, I go, that shit's not working. They hear, you ain't shit, your mama had the wrong child, oh my God, you should be murdered, and like a cross should be on your back and everybody should be crying over your weak ass. That's what they heard. They don't hear the project you're working on sucks because you really didn't know what you were doing and your fake it till you make it has finally reached its limit. So I try to, and now that being an entrepreneur is the cool thing to do, I want all the cool thing to do people leave me the fuck alone. And let me just work with the animals who are made for this shit. Because what you'll find too is the ones who are not made for this shit, they will sit in your face, yeah, right? And then leave you and spew how much they fucking hate you. Mm-hmm. And then get back in your face again, yeah. Mm-hmm. To only not ever do shit, but ate up at least, go back to my time, at least 30, 40, 50, 100 hours of my time in my life. Can I talk to you on the phone? We had an employee was working with us, and I picked up on the first conversation. Oh, never have a conversation again. Last time we'll ever talk. So I walked out the office one day. She said, "No, can I talk to you?" I said, "Hey, ask Neil. She already knows." Oh, you know what she had to ask me. And I closed the door. I know today was like, this motherfucker. But it was like, you're never going to have access to me again. Because it's just too much. We got too much of distance between the two of us. You can sit in my class, but don't ask me nothing personally. Right? That's why I even tell the first 6 months of class, don't call me. Don't ask me shit. Because the consciousness I'm on, you won't know what it is. And when you try to judge me from your consciousness, it just seems too weird and too harsh and too unnecessary. Like, think about this first, second order thinking. Do you realize how unnecessary I'm going to feel when you talk to me? How I'm seem petty sometimes? Because I'm looking at, yeah, this might be small, but when it gets here, you can't handle that. Mm-hmm. Or if that does hit you this way and you're not strong here, that's the end of everything you ever believed in. But when I'm telling you that at the peak of your happiness and joy, do you know what the fuck I look like? So last point. Here's one of the tools you guys want to put in place for second order thinking. You can't do it alone. You can't. I use my shaman cord all the time. I even use Kevin sometimes. I've used Josh sometimes.
We don't want no devils.
You got to get a group of council of people around you that you can lob these ideas into their court and help you process other possibilities. You in your own head can become a victim of your own fears or your own, which we need to get to a slide, and we'll get to a slide next week because it's just, we're riding this, we're really diving. I want folks to understand this as opposed to just run through the slides really fast. But it gets into that concept we'll get into next week about how you can turn second order thinking into limitations. Black folks, we don't usually, because this usually happens. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's not true, right? So if you take away first principle thinking, assumptions, and you use second order thinking by itself in isolation, and you tie that with fear or just a lot of fear, it can become a paralysis of analysis, right? So I'm not. But the trick to a lot of this is this. This is why, going back to that feedback shit, Shakina, you got to have a circle of trusted people around you, because I can't tell you how many times I called Cord, I called Mashama, I called Kevin, Josh even, I've called T. Pratt, Pastor Chris, maybe forgetting some names. I can even call Dave Max a couple of times, where I have an idea, I'm like, yes, because here's the possibility. They're like, wait, did you think about this? Mm-hmm. Like, oh shit, that's more important than all the shit I thought about. Right? So then what it does, it doesn't stop me from acting. It stops me, what it does, it allows me to build in my planning contingencies or preparation for those changes and look for signs for those other things to happen. So when they happen, it looked like I planned that move because I built that into my system, when really it was my second order thinking that allowed me to see all the possible ways. So my car is now designed to make a hard right as well as a hard left, as well as go over the hill, as well as go underground. I built all that in because I realized that all four of those may be a possible option that may come from that, or I'm prepared to abandon, because if I get this first sign, give everybody their money back, say, sorry for even fucking with y'all, I'm going home. Right? Or just don't make the decision at all. Right? But what I'm saying is that you learn to make better decisions and then build better strategies and systems because you're using second order thinking. You guys get where I'm going with this? But in order for you to get there, you can't do it alone. It's not possible. Pastor Chris, I'm not a Christian in his church. Pastor Chris and I talk on the phone all the time in consultation back and forth. You ever see Mace and Cameron do the sports show?
Yeah.
Right? They're very different. Mace is a Christian minister. Cameron is a hood in, right? Hardcore. Cameron speaks the way he does. Mace speaks the way. Mace never cusses. Mace won't go against Christian principles, but they lock in, right? Well, me and Pastor Chris ain't that far apart, but he's a serious, hardcore, professional Christian. You can't get more professional than Pastor Chris, right? And I'm a social activist, right? But I got a little bit. I love my Oakland connection to the community to a degree. If it starts to limit my capabilities, I cut it loose. Okay, so we speak about something different, but a lot of times I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? He works with a lot of large groups of people. He sees systems. He's working with large sums of money. He's moving across the nation. He has so much data he's picking up that even in my thinking, stop thinking you have the ability to think about everything and know everything. You don't. So you build a group of people around you, and that's how you have enhanced second order thinking. So you know when to stop and turn to your group and say, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about this? And you're taking all that data to make your decision. You still own a decision because you're the one who got to pay for it because of radical responsibility. But to get to that second order thinking level, you need to be able to pull in resources. This is why you got to always be reading about multiple subjects also. I'll give you formulas. Always read about other shit besides business, because all that's going to give you different ways to think about different situations that have better enhanced second order thinking. You got to stay curious. Read articles. Read as much as fucking shit as you can. Spend as much time learning as you can, because you never know I can't tell you how many times I read an article this month and next month I use that data. And if I hadn't read that article, I would have made a bad decision. And the times I did make a bad decision, all I did was reduce my probability, because that's the only game you're playing. Mm-hmm. Guys get that? Mm-hmm. This shrinking ass chair, those of you at home who think I'm getting shorter by the minute, This chair has a fuel or oxygen leak or something. Got me looking like a little small man talking about, this is what y'all should do. And all right, with that being said, have a good night. See y'all later. Bye. Wow.